1, 2, 3. Welcome to the show.
Can you?
Grab me a positive synergy. I have been doubted through life. Been there and done that with trifling people who told me my style would not work. I told them they wrong. Been struggling too long. This song is for you. I'm proving you wrong. Get out my way. 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 Get out my way.
No friends in the industry, my brothers been my brothers, man. You niggas ain't no kin to me, a fact. Whoa, yeah, you heard about me, you don't know me more than that. Yeah, I know hey, yeah. No friends in the industry, my brothers been my brothers, man. You niggas ain't no kin to me, a fact. Whoa, I was known for snapping when I chat before the app. Stood on everything I said and never took it back. Whoa, no friends in the industry, I had to draw the line between my brothers and my enemies, a fact. Niggas let us start the beat, don't wanna keep it rap. Yeah, you hit us up and now we owe you something back. See you, I was young angel, but these niggas turn me evil. Yeah, I know you, but you really ain't my people. Yeah, I heard some people say they know him as my equal. Truth be told, that son, these niggas, girl, I don't compete with them. Ask about the boy and they gon' say he got the streets with him. Niggas so offensive knowing they don't have no defense. Why they always act like we can fix it with a meeting? All that linking up, man, I'ma see you when I see you. Yeah, brothers been my brothers, man, you niggas ain't no kidding, that's a fact, ayy. And I'm like Sha'Carri, smoke, I'm on and off the track, ayy. And you love that hoe with me, I put her on the back. You get Drizzy on the track, here, put you on the map. Oh, it's like that, hell yeah, it's like that, ayy. And I got a contract, it's a max, ayy. Since I got in contact, she attached. When I saw my first deal, that shit came through a fax. That should let you know how long I've been out here running laps.
I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, no friends in the industry, my brothers been my brothers, man, you niggas ain't no kin to me, a fact. Whoa, I was known for snapping when I chat before the app. Stood on everything I said and never took it back. Whoa, no friends in the industry, I had to draw the line between my brothers and my enemies, a fact. Niggas let us start the beat, don't wanna keep it rap. Yeah, you hit us up and now we owe you something back. Damn, this shit too dirty, gotta yellow tape it. And I got her waiting at the telly naked. We ain't dropped though, how you niggas celebrating already. Disrespecting something I ain't tolerating. You niggas fuck with me, I give them motivation.
What up? K-Love 92.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on? Thank you, Marianne. I see you say you're trying to log on. Awesome. Come on in. Thank you so much, K-Love 92, for joining us.
No
I appreciate
problem.
you. Let me see. First of all, welcome everybody to the show again. Man, I got to brush my hair. Oh, tripping. Thank y'all for coming in. Thank y'all for coming to join us as we go ahead and wrap up the rest of the sentencing of R. Kelly from the Chicago trial. Yesterday's read was amazing. I know tonight is going to be just as amazing. Let me see who up in here with me. We got, what's up, Mimi214. Hello, how are you? We got Cherie Harris in the building. How are you? We have Daddy's Girl. What's going on, Daddy's Girl? Missed you too. Thanks for coming in. Aisha Stockton, what's up? Nexie Mendoza, what's going on? SpongeBob, what's up, my brother? How are you? T-Bone, what's good? Chocolate 82467 in the house. Purple, what's good? Let me see who else. Marianne Green says she's trying to log in. Okay, she probably getting to her computer. And let me see. MS Blessed, how are you? What's going on? Let me see who else. Missing anybody? I think I got Latrice B. How are you? All right, y'all. So tonight, as you know, we are going to be wrapping up these transcripts for this R. Kelly sentencing. K-Love, how you been? I know last time we talked on this channel, you were just starting a new venture in your life as far as your career. How is that going?
It's a lot. I'm
Hey,
learning.
Marianne.
It's
Marianne,
a lot.
you hear
I'm
me?
learning, but I love it so far.
You say you loving it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Mhm.
I'm so happy to hear that. We was all happy for you. I'm happy that that's all working out for you. Marianne, how was your day today?
It was good. How was yours, Atmos?
I can't complain. I had a very, 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 very long day.
I
I
can
hear you on
relate.
that.
You know, but
Me
it's
too.
it's it's all good. Like when I tell y'all that I left my house at 7 o'clock this morning, and I just got in like 20 minutes ago. So when I tell you I've been on the run all day, but it's all good, right? It's what we do. Okay. Um, all right, y'all. So look, let's go ahead and let's get to this, man. Let's get to this. Let's get to this. Let me pull this up and let me share this with y'all. Thank y'all for being here. I do appreciate it. Let me do this here. Let me share my screen. Share. Here we go. Awesome. So we ended up right here in the middle of page 43. So what I'll have you do, if you could for me, Marianne, I'll have you. You know what? You did really good yesterday, just reading all of the government parts. I want to keep you right there. If you could read Bonjean for me, K-Love 92.
Okay.
And you just kind of do what you did yesterday, Marianne. You were like on point with like all of the different characters, and I'll still read the men's parts and all that. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Awesome. So we'll go ahead. Let's start at line 17. Let me see. It says matter of fact, we'll start at 18. Well, I just say thank you, Miss Bonjean, and then you can come in. K-Love 92. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Thank you, Miss Bonjean.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. The first category of information that this court will have to look at is, of course, the nature and circumstances of the offenses. It is wrong to suggest that either Mr. Kelly individually or through his counsel, is in any way engaging in victim blaming or attempting to even quarrel with the facts that the jury accepted in their sentencing memorandums. It is not reflected in our paper. The fact that we took a position that fear wasn't involved is not victim blaming. It is our argument about what enhancements should apply, what enhancements shouldn't apply, what the evidence actually showed, what the relationships really were. The court heard the testimony. As the court is aware, the relationship with Jane, yes, we saw the videos. Not one in our sentencing papers, not once has anyone, even frankly through trial, said that's not him, that's not her. We didn't do that. We did not do that. And we made a calculated choice. So this is not victim blaming. This is just an effort to suggest that Mr. Kelly is somehow not rehabilitated or not capable of rehabilitation because he lacks remorse. So it's just not true. The court cannot identify a single sentence in our sentencing papers where we are saying that the jury got this wrong or that the jury got that wrong. We made those arguments. We accept that they were rejected. There may be a time to make those arguments in the appellate court if we think the sufficiency of the evidence was lacking, but for sentencing purposes, that is not what we have engaged in. This idea that he has failed to accept responsibility. Now, the government knows that's not true. And the government knows, and I don't like to bring this up, but the government knows why we had a trial. And it is not because Mr. Kelly was not willing to take responsibility for the conduct that he was willing to take responsibility for, as opposed to acquitted conduct that the government continues to want to rely on to enhance his sentence. Now, it is no question that the counts related to Jane are serious, but it is also undisputed that that relationship was far more complicated than what the government wants to admit. The relationship with Pauline, far more complicated than the government wants to admit. No one is suggesting that the proofs did not persuade the jury that he is guilty of those counts, and we accept the seriousness of those counts. But whenever you're speaking about the seriousness of offense, it is on a continuum. The government has us looking at cases like this Osborne case as some type of comparison, where Osborne was trafficking children over Facebook and having sex with them and recording it and selling videos. This is not the same type of conduct. I'm not suggesting it minimizes Mr. Kelly's conduct. I'm saying that we still have to actually look at the conduct here. Mr. Kelly, again, there's no question that if the video was never made, it could have never made its way into the public sphere. We did not deny that. We said it. It is also the case that Mr. Kelly is not the person that put the video into the public sphere. If he had, I'm sure the government would be arguing that as a point of aggravation. Other people were responsible for that. Jane's own aunt, as she testified to. And the point is not to minimize his conduct, but it is also put it in context because that is what we are permitted to do as citizens. To say, yes, it's bad, but there are ways in which it could have been worse. That is how we look at conduct. Now, you heard testimony about Kelly and Jane's relationship that lasted all the way to 2019. Now, I am not suggesting that her statement here today is not valid or that she does not feel the way she does, but there was, and Pauline even said it today, there was more to that relationship. It started out as unlawful conduct and it morphed into a relationship that even Pauline described today as a friendship. I thought we had something. And now in hindsight, I look back and I say, when I have my own kids, this was so wildly inappropriate. And of course, a jury found it illegal. We are not denying any of that. But to compare this to someone who is trafficking children they've never met, taking pornography of prohibited sexual activity with children and selling it all over the country, as the government tries to compare this case to, is not fair either. So we have to look at the specific conduct here. And yes, the court has an obligation to hold him responsible. The court has an obligation to put weight on that conduct and to find, and we agree, it's serious conduct. But it isn't what the government tells the court that it is. And Nia, it is a less serious count. I'm sorry. We're not trying to minimize it, but it was a less serious count. This was a 2-time encounter that the one he's charged for was a 2-minute interaction in the hallway, which again, you can't even make those arguments without being accused of victim blaming, which is not quite fair. But let's be real. The conduct of touching, fondling Nia, who was 15 or 16, depending on when it happened that summer in the hallway, is not the same type of conduct, even compared to Jane. So I think we do need to continue to keep this in perspective. Yes, the court should look at the seriousness of the offenses, but also realize and recognize that in the court, I'm sure, has heard many cases that this is not akin to this type of conduct. For instance, that the government referenced in this Osborne case. Now, if the court will indulge me 1 second, the government also, again, puts a lot of emphasis on this obstruction count, for which Mr. Kelly was acquitted. And the court heard from Jane. The court heard from Jane's mother. Again, because this was a complex relationship with the complicity of parents, frankly, that this wasn't Mr. Kelly obstructing as much as a family deciding that they did not want to participate in the criminal justice process at the time. Now, when I asked Jane's mother, are you saying that you did this? You didn't participate because Mr. Kelly was going to pay you money or anything like that? She said no. Jane herself said, I have my own reasons. And we understand that. And that doesn't take responsibility off him, but it is not obstruction, which is why the jury did not find obstruction. It is ironic that the prosecutor says, and the jury has spoken. Yes, they did speak. They spoke, and he was acquitted of that conduct. One argument that the government continues to advance, which is simply untrue, is that Mr. Kelly cannot control himself. I think Mr. Pentag said his interest in young women has not gone away. Where's the proof? This is conduct from the late 90s. Wow.
Wow.
They have not identified a single case A single case where that conduct continued after his acquittal. Not one. Is she serious? I'm sorry.
Mm. Well, that's not entirely true because in the piece PSI, and again I'm relying upon Mr. Alper's summary of the New York case. There's several of the victims in New York, which was, I think, one of them was as late as 2016.
Yes, but those weren't
Actually, Your Honor,
minors, Your Honor.
No, no.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Okay.
Your Honor, there is a minor that was convicted for which the conduct he was convicted in 19. She was 19. The conduct with, I'm sorry, I've lost my place.
You good?
Your Honor, there is a minor that was convicted for which the conduct he was convicted in 19. The conduct with the minor occurred after the 2008 trial. She was 16, 17 when she met him. Geronda Pace.
That wasn't after. I'd be happy to address that, Your Honor.
All right.
There is, in the New York case, there is a 1990, I think, 6 or 7. And then with this Geronda Pace testimony, that this was prior 2006, 2007 to his acquittal. Point being is that there was any conduct that post dated the late 90s of producing child pornography, abusing minors, I think they would have brought that in this indictment or the other indictment. I'm not talking about, you're right, the court is correct. There were allegations about Mr. Kelly's conduct
Right.
that was
Yeah.
prohibited.
Well, that's basically what I meant.
Yes, and that's fair. And I'm not trying to mislead the court on that. But to say that he is a serial sexual predator of minors and that he cannot learn and that he's still a risk, my point is that the evidence has shown that there has not, in at least 2 decades, been a crime committed as to minors. So that is just not fair, which again doesn't mean he can't be or shouldn't be punished for the conduct for which he's been convicted here. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the history of and characteristics of Mr. Kelly, because while on one hand, we all acknowledge the harm that child sexual abuse can cause, according to the victims, of course, it never goes away. It follows you for life, it impacts your life forever. I think one of the victims said, it changes your lens through how you look at everything and it just never goes away. But for Mr. Kelly, apparently, he was supposed to overcome his child sexual abuse, and we can't even consider it as mitigation. There's a lot of lip service to it as being mitigation. Every prosecutor gives it one sentence, and then there's no additional really weight given to it. Well, mitigation is never an excuse. No one ever says it's an excuse for conduct. If it was, then it would be raised at trials and not as sentencing. But it does help the court weigh the evidence and also determine whether or not there are reasons for why people have made the decisions they have made and why they have gone about their lives in the way that they have. In Mr. Kelly's childhood, and they can say he should have overcome it, but according to their own witnesses, it's impossible to overcome except when it's Mr. Kelly. What we have here is an individual that had a horrific childhood that shaped him, that shaped his view of women, that shaped his view of sex, that shaped his view of the world. This was, he was an 8-year-old when he started being sexually abused as a child by not only a family member, but someone who groomed him. This abuse lasted for years. It included penetration. It included oral sex, anal penetration, nonstop for years by a sister and by a neighbor. We'll call him a neighbor. Mr. Kelly also was forced to take pictures of his sister having sexual relations with her cousin, who she eventually married.
What?
I didn't know that.
Wait, can you repeat that again?
Whoa, go back. What the stuff?
Mr. Kelly Also was forced to take pictures of his sister having sexual relations with her cousin, who she eventually married.
Stop the freaking
It's
press.
just incest all over that
Oh
family.
my
Someone
gosh.
was really hurting those children.
Yep.
Wow. I did not, all these people that was at the courthouse, nobody brought this out. Nobody said anything about it. That's why we read the transcripts, y'all.
But
Good
you know
gosh.
what? This just kind of reminds me of the girls. Like, it's like no one protected them. When you look at Jane, no one protected her. No one protected the Kelly children.
And let's be fair, nobody protected R. Kelly. Like,
That's what I said. The Kelly
we
children.
look, we got look. Let's look. We got to be real about this shit. Let's just be
Yeah.
real about it. That man went through hell, and I know that it's no, it doesn't give him a pass to do what he did. But what about his trauma?
Yep.
What about what the hell he went through? Like, what the?
You have a point, but here's the other thing. He had the means and the resources at one point to get the help he needed.
Get the help he needed, if he wanted the help he needed. And see, and then this is what you got to think about too. This man started off poor. He started off singing in subways, and people dumping little quarters and dimes and nickels and stuff just to try to get him money that he could, be able to eat. He was on the street. He was a street hustler. So when you think about it, and then all of a sudden you make it, and you making millions of dollars, and everybody wants you, and everyone's saying yes to you and kissing your ass for everything, you start to think, you know what? Maybe I'm not that bad off. Maybe I can handle this. Maybe I don't need help. Maybe there's nothing wrong with me because I have everything I never had before.
You have a point. I can see that. But the other thing about it is, you don't think he has a conscience?
No.
You don't
No,
think
I honestly think, and I don't know, my opinion is that when you are a child and adults are abusing you, and it's happening around you, it's happening with your sister, like, how can he have a conscience? Like, you would think as a human being he does, but if you think about it, like, they already said that he was mentally delayed.
True.
And that on top of being shown from his family that all this sexual stuff, and then the neighbor being allowed to rape him, and he probably is still screwed up. He probably don't have no conscience. He probably is doing all he knows at the mind frame and the intelligence level and the maturity level that he was raised with.
True.
He really may be stuck in that zone of, wow.
Who said that? Was that Carrie that said that?
I don't know.
That he was stuck.
That he had arrested development, basically.
Yeah, that's why he dealt with younger women, or was that Bruce?
I think, in my opinion, there's a possibility that it could be a combination of the fact that his childhood was so traumatic, and the fact that his intellectual ability just isn't, where most of his peers are, would be.
Did you see what Andrew posted in the chat? Because I've heard that too. That his grandfather is his father.
Yeah, that's allegedly. We're not saying that on this channel. Atmos ain't saying that. That is not my opinion. That is the comment of a Andrew Staples in the chat. Atmos didn't say that.
Yeah, allegedly.
Y'all, wow.
And I think it came out when I was on Diva's channel the other day that she has 2 kids by the cousin.
Hold up. We have a celebrity in the building. A celebrity has just walked in the building.
Showtime.
King Johan is in the building. What's up, bro? King Johan is in the building. Y'all show love to King Johan, man. What's up, bro? He said, yo, what's good, bro? In chat, peace and blessings, in traffic listening. That's what's up, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right. Wow, that just threw me off. All right, ladies, it's on y'all.
Okay. Now, if that doesn't shape someone's worldview and life view, I don't know what would. Now, I don't bring this up to make excuses for his conduct, but I think you don't need to be a PhD to connect the dots here. And it is a fact, in fact, a relevant point for mitigation. Mr. Kelly's adverse childhood experiences are linked to his negative outcomes in adulthood. That's what every expert says. Their own experts have said it. It's not simply as he chose not to overcome it. That's not how it works. They know that it's not how it works.
Mm.
Now, he grew up also in extreme poverty and not only experienced this horrific childhood sexual abuse himself, but witnessed violence in his home nonstop. It was so normalized that Mr. Kelly doesn't even consider it abnormal in a way. His mother, her husband violently fighting each other. In fact, in one instance, his mother, who he adores, I want to make that very clear, was fighting with her husband, and somehow her dress got caught in a door, and he started driving away a car door. And his children, her children, watch as their mothers being dragged down the street. This is the type of violence he grew up in. In fact, one time his mother accidentally stabbed him at the age of 16 because of some violence in the household. He was regularly disciplined with whips, switches, belts. This was normalized. And I want to make very clear, because he would be upset if I didn't, that it doesn't change his love for his mother. She did the very best she could. But this is generational trauma. Generational trauma. So you can't just say, oh, he just could have overcome it.
Thank you, Drama Free. I appreciate that.
Clearly, there was premature sexualization in his life. There was a household with no boundaries when it came to sex. He was being molested by the age of 7 or 8, asked to take photos. He has significant mitigation that at least helps explain conduct. Not excuse, but explain. And the law and the sentencing guidelines tell this court that that is something that the court should take into account. We also know from Dr. Deek's report that he was tested not too long ago, right before his Eastern District sentencing. He reads and writes at a first to third grade level. Illiteracy followed him his entire life, and it shaped him too. It prevented him from surrounding himself with people that might have been able to get him help. People who took advantage of him, who exploited him in adulthood, and then he rises to stardom as a young kid with no experience in the world other than his horrific, traumatic experience. And it is no wonder that who he was in the late 90s evolved from that experience. Now, I asked this court to consider the reports that we submitted. Is I'm not going to belabor them. They were lengthy, they were complete, they were corroborated by collateral sources, meaning there was outside individuals who that word is tripping me up. Corroborated the
Corroborated.
evidence, and there is significant mitigation in this case. And I don't care whether he's 50 some years old, there are adverse consequences that affect you through life. And that explains much of the conduct for which he was convicted here. And it is not accurate that through the last 20 years, he has been abusing 14-year-olds or 15-year-olds. I'm not suggesting that his relationships with women have not been, as the Eastern District jury found, inappropriate, illegal in some respects, but I do think we need to differentiate. And we heard that he's a pedophile. He's a pedophile. I just want the record to be clear. There's no doctor, and he has been examined, that has ever said he is a pedophile. That is a medical term that requires interest in prepubescent girls. So I just want to be clear. That doesn't make it any less illegal if someone is 14 or 15, but it does not mean someone is a pedophile.
Mm.
Now, the mitigation is significant. And now I want to turn to the questions of this above guidelines range. Above, I believe the statutory maximum for the top count is 20 years here. The government is they're really asking for a second life sentence, and it's unclear why. He only has one life to give, and it is not the case that victims are entitled to some number of years. Even a concurrent sentence acknowledges the harm that occurred to the victims in this case. Now, for the court to impose a 300-month sentence, as the government requests, would require an extremely above guidelines range. Even probation does not recommend an above guidelines range in this case. And I believe that the requests hinge on two factors. One, this lack of remorse. And again, I don't want to beat this horse, but it is not the case that Mr. Kelly has shown lack of remorse in either his papers or anywhere. In fact, the government knows we tried very hard for Mr. Kelly to accept responsibility for certain conduct, and they wanted the trial, not us. And this conduct
Hold on. Stop right there. Okay. So does that mean that he tried to get a plea? I'm looking at that. It says Mr. Kelly. It says here, in fact, the government knows we tried very hard for Mr. Kelly to accept responsibility for certain conduct, and they wanted the trial, not us.
It's possible.
Yeah. It sounds like the government didn't think that that plea deal was worth it to them, though. They had so much evidence that they didn't have to allow that.
I think that's what she meant when she said they wanted the trial, not us.
They wanted the trial, not us. And the fact that she said the government knows we tried very hard for Mr. Kelly to accept responsibility, meaning he probably went to them and said, listen, look, I was wrong for this. I was wrong for this. Can we do some type of plea deal? And the government probably said, well, we admit to this. And he was probably like, well, no, but I'll admit to this and to this. And they probably was like, no.
They weren't going to let him pick and choose.
Right.
They just had too much evidence, like all those videotapes. I don't have to play the game with you.
Damn, that's crazy. Okay, I'm sorry, ladies. That just stuck out to me.
Oh, you're fine. And this conduct that, the government's ask of 300 months because of lack of remorse also infringes on his Fifth Amendment rights. Why? Mr. Kelly is still under indictment in Minnesota. He still has a serious, essentially life sentence in the Eastern District. I don't know what they want from Mr. Kelly. Do they want him to come up here, take responsibility, and then get indicted in other jurisdictions for that evidence to be used again against him? On the advice of counsel, I have advised him, and he's going to follow my advice, that he will not allocute here, but he would like to. He would like to very much. Now, the other factor that the government asked this court to essentially give an above guidelines range is to just look at the current offense levels for the conduct look at the current offense levels and consider those in determining an appropriate sentence here today. Well, that's one thing that this court knows it cannot do. That is an ex post facto violation. They are making an end run about that. Even the case they cite, and this is an important point, U.S. versus Co. And it's a distinction that they have not recognized. But what Co said is that when there's an aggravating element that was omitted as a sentencing factor in the applicable guidelines, a court can look at that aggravating element, presumably. It's an element that a court would consider as a sentencing factor only and say, okay, yes, it was later codified. I see this element as a basis to raise the sentencing guidelines or upwardly depart. Code does not permit a court to simply say, oh, we punish the crime harsher now, so just apply the guidelines now to apply an upward variance. Code does not say anything of the sort. This was about an aggravating elements that a court might have considered anyway in a sentencing factor. What they are saying is we just punish it more now. You consider that. It's our position that that would be a clear ex post facto violation. I believe we addressed this in our responsive papers, asking this court to upwardly depart or apply an upward variance based on an acquitted conduct, I think runs afoul of a number of constitutional violations. For one thing, for the court to do that, it would take the crime outside the statutory maximum and would run afoul of Apprendi. Not only did the jury get presented with the facts on instruction, they acquitted him on that. So that cannot possibly be a basis to apply an upward variance. So the court's offense range that it articulated earlier, which I believe is 132 to 168 months.
135
135 to 168
to 168
months is the applicable guideline range. There are not grounds for an upward variance, and we ask that this court reject the request from the government. And I again point out, I didn't agree with a lot of probation had to say, but the part I did agree with that there's no grounds for an upward variance. The last thing I want to cover is the concurrent versus consecutive nature. The government concedes we didn't need to have this trial at all. This trial should have been brought in the Eastern District. Why? Because according to the government, the enterprise that Mr. Kelly purportedly engaged in included conduct that we have heard here. That could have been raised here. I understand the government's point that this is not a clear double jeopardy problem. And I understand that law would suggest that they had the right to do that. They could bring it in different jurisdictions. But as a matter of fairness, due process, to ask now enhanced punishment based on consecutiveness is unfair and is not justified. It is not warranted. The government points again to two factors that it wants this court to rely on running the case consecutive. Again, we go back to his lack of remorse. I don't. I do not believe this court can find his lack of remorse as a ground to run this case consecutive, particularly because Mr. Kelly is still under indictment and the court does not have any reason to believe he doesn't have remorse. He is just following his attorney's advice not to allocute, which frankly any attorney would give when someone is under pending indictment. Our papers have never suggested that he has not been convicted of serious offenses.
K Love 92, you want a little break? I know I'm reading the mess out of you. You want to have Marianne come in for a little bit and read?
She can, or I can keep going. I'm good either way.
You good? Okay,
Mhm.
okay. As long as you're good. Go ahead. I didn't want you to. Okay, go ahead.
So to say he lacks remorse is a red herring. It's not true. They're not in his head. They don't know what he feels, and they don't know what he would say if they stopped indicting him and he had the opportunity to allocute. The other grounds that they identify for running this case, this sentence here consecutive, is that there just should be substantial incremental punishment for these victims. What that suggests is that a concurrent sentence would not address the harms that these victims talked about. Of course, a concurrent sentence would. In what world do we say that consecutive sentences is the only way to address the harms? He has a life sentence by all statistical measures. I think I cited it. African American men who have diabetes do not live into their 80s in prison. I mean, some do, but it is very much outside of the statistical probabilities. And what they want is some type of symbolic sentence for themselves. That's what they want. And there is no justification for a consecutive sentence when he is already going to be serving what is tantamount to a life sentence. The victims are not in any way not recognized in this case because it's a concurrent sentence. Pauline, I think, mentioned he's outliving his best life. He's in the MDC where he's going to be in prison until he dies, probably, based on the existing sentence. I don't know how that's living your best life, you know. To suggest he So to suggest that he's not being punished just is just absurd, frankly. He is and he will be punished based on the sentence that came down in the Eastern District. He will be punished here based on this court sentence. But running it consecutive is overkill. It is symbolic that the government wants for some reason. Why? Because he's R. Kelly. That's why. And that is not fair. Now, I've made some remarks in my sentencing memorandums about where I think the government should spend their resources and time. But just because you give R. Kelly 50 years, 100 years, doesn't mean that you've solved the problem of child exploitation in this country. There's plenty of child exploitation, but giving him a 100-year sentence, 200-year sentence doesn't solve the problem. This is still an individual, and a sentence needs to be appropriate for this individual, taking in his individual characteristics, and yes, looking at the conduct in this case, which we have gone through extensively. As far as deterrence goes, well, the specific deterrence is not a factor. Why? He's already incapacitated. How does this specifically deter him? He's already got a.
Hold on. I think we had a mistake in the chat. It looks like SpongeBob was timed out by T-Bone. I assume that was a mistake. Please don't time anyone out if they're not being disrespectful. And SpongeBob got a wrench. That's weird. I think. Okay, I got to fix that. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's already got a 30-year sentence, and that sentence again will likely take him through the rest of his life. The general deterrence, as I argued, I think the public has a sense of how serious these offenses are. And I think if anyone has been provided a general deterrence, it's R. Kelly. In fact, I think most people look and go, geez, Robert Kelly, man, he's got the longest sentence in the history for this type of conduct, particularly compared to his other counterparts that are similar to him in terms of his fame and wealth.
Can we stop there for a second?
Mm.
So it's just, I mean, one, she's doing an excellent job.
She is killing it. She's doing her damn thing.
Yeah, she is earning her money.
She is.
But that last part, that was a bold-faced lie. Because like Keith Raniere, didn't he get like 60 years for his cult? And they all, well, no, they weren't all adults, but he got 60 years. He's never getting out. I think she wants him to still have a chance.
Right.
I mean,
I think the thing about this, and I see a lot of people bring up like Elvis and stuff like that, but my thing is Elvis is dead and he has been dead for a long time. I mean, what do you want them to do?
Yeah, that was a different time.
Yeah.
Like people were getting married at 15 and 16.
That's true. They were. You know what? And I think that y'all make some great points because you have a lot of people and as far as most of the R. Kelly supporters, I understand where they're coming from when they say that back in the day it was normal. It wasn't frowned upon for older men to date younger women. I get that. But we talking about back in the day, right? But times have changed. We're in a different time. We're in a different millennium. We got, people look at things now with a lot more they look more at more moral things. So
more importantly, the law has changed.
Exactly.
So like I can't force you to have the same beliefs as I have, but I can force you to follow the law.
Correct. So like I said, I get what they're saying, especially some of the older people and the people who say, well, but it's just so hard for the times that we're in that we look at that as just being disgusting. Like, oh, grandpa, what are you doing? Like, she a babe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone in the chat brought up Jerry Lee Lewis. Didn't he die recently? That's another one.
Well, this Steven Tyler guy, the guy who was the
I saw that too.
Yeah, it's some stuff coming out, man. It really is.
Wait, what was his story?
Well, he was
Aerosmith guy.
Yeah, Aerosmith.
It was like 16 or something.
Yeah,
and he
16.
started having sex with her.
Yeah. Yeah, they were actually dating and
He was
and
taking her across the country, across state
exactly.
lines.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. So they that's gonna be the next thing they're gonna jump on. But it's crazy.
Sorry about that.
You,
My
you
It's
bad.
good. You
okay.
good. You good. All right.
And And so I don't think that general deterrence is a problem. The public has been generally deterred already. In fact, if there's one person that no one wants to be on this planet, it's R. Kelly. So they have accomplished both specific deterrence and general deterrence. Running this sentence consecutive is not going to enhance that any further. So, Your Honor, I just want to reiterate, Mr. Kelly, myself on behalf of Mr. Kelly, we've never minimized the crimes for which he was convicted. We simply argue what we think is an appropriate sentence. We believe the guidelines range is appropriate under the circumstances and a concurrent sentence is appropriate. Again, this case could have been brought in the Eastern District, saved everybody a lot of time and resources, and Judge Donnelly could have factored in this additional harm. But our position is that the guidelines range adequately responds to the conduct that Mr. Kelly has been convicted of. There's no need to go above. And there's no need to run this consecutive because it's frankly overkill. And the government hasn't really provided a strong argument for why it should be consecutive, other than he has lack of remorse, which frankly our position is they cannot say, and it is not our position at all that he lacks remorse. So, with that, Your Honor, unless the court has any questions, that concludes my remarks.
I need to ask your client if he wishes to allocute. Mr. Kelly, would you like to make a statement on your own behalf before I impose the sentence? Sorry, Your Honor, but I'm gonna take on the counsel on my counsel. I would not. Thank you. Thank you. Any further from either side? Miss Appeting?
Nothing from the government, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, what's interesting in this case is that this case was first, was filed first, and, we would have gone to trial, but for the fact that the COVID protocols, because we had 3 defendants and because of the distancing requirements, we couldn't try the case until this past fall, where the CDC reduced the distancing requirements from 6 feet to 2 feet. So, the case went ahead in New York, and there was a sentence imposed. And one of the questions in my mind that I've, been thinking a lot is if, the case had gone first, here rather than New York, what kind of sentence would I have imposed under the facts and as I understood them as the jury determined the case. The guidelines that we worked out or, that I have established at this particular time is 135 to 168 months. So, of course, that is one of the starting points. That's not the ending point, of course, because we have to consider the nature and circumstances of the offense and the history and characteristics of the defendant and other factors that, the purposes of sentencing that we know about that reflect the seriousness of the offense and promote respect for the law and provides just punishment and provide adequate deterrence and protect the public. The sentence that I would have given probably would have been higher than the guidelines, probably because of some of the points that the government has indicated. I think that while the jury spoke on the issue of whether he had obstructed justice, there certainly was evidence that I could find by a preponderance that he obstructed justice. And also, as the government pointed out that the later guidelines, which would be in the current now, would provide for a higher offense level for the actual conduct. What's up, Riri?
Hey, what's happening? What's happening,
Hey,
everybody?
Riri.
How are you? Welcome in. We're going to keep this thing rolling. Here we go.
Okay.
So I have not come to a complete sentence. But, of course, the elephant in the room, so to speak, is what is he, going to do as far as consecutive versus concurrent? And that is the issue that I'm going to start out with discussing. And then, we'll end up with, because, basically it's kind of irrelevant, if what I end up sentencing him either way. So the question is, I'm not going to keep everybody in suspense. I'm going to provide for a consecutive sentence, but a minimal consecutive sentence of 1 year. And that's to add to the New York sentence. But I do want to go into reasons for my thinking upon which I base my decision. First of all, we start out with the sentence that everyone knows, at least as far as the judges who get involved and the lawyers who were involved in sentencing. Sentencing is to be sufficient, but not greater than necessary. The purposes of sentencing, which I briefly had mentioned, reflect the seriousness of the offense, promote respect for the law, provide just punishment, and provide adequate deterrence and protect the public. Now we start out. The seriousness of the offense is the nature and circumstances of the offense. And of course, everybody agrees that the nature of this offense is horrible, horrific. Abuse of young girls, sex tapes being in the public and cannot be, even though Mr. Kelly's minions spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get these tapes back. And obviously, they weren't able to do that. So, and they're out there in the public and, they can't be removed. The defendant's actions are seen on the tapes. The only possible ameliorating is that he didn't apparently intend to traffic the tapes. He certainly was horrendously negligent in how he kept them. As I remember, I think it was Lisa Van Allen who said that she found them in I guess a backpack sitting on the floor. And so she just, helped herself to them. And, and that started out with a rather Keystone Cop kind of operation in which those tapes spread, throughout the country. And Kelly's minions spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in an effort trying to get them back. They were obviously unable to do so. This was not prepubescent sex child porn, which is a particular type. And, there is, as I understand it, based upon Dr. Deitch's report, that, Mr. Kelly is not a pedophile, according to Dr. Deitch's report. But again, those tapes got out there. And that's the nature and circumstances of the offense. And it's horrendous. And everybody agrees with that. And it's deserving of a very, very serious consequences to Mr. Kelly. Now, the history and characteristics that both sides have gone into. Miss Bonjean points out that, he had a fatherless childhood, and he was raised in poverty, alcoholism in the family. He was subject to what has been, a nice euphemism of adverse childhood experiences. Other word for sex abuse. He is marginally illiterate, He has a learning disability and his education is minimal. But contrast to that, he's a musical genius. Multiple Grammy Awards. He wrote music for himself and many other famous musicians. His song was featured in a movie with Michael Jordan. All of a sudden he's a person working on the street, and all of a sudden he ends up with millions of dollars in cash without anyone really, there to explain how he should handle himself. It is clear that he wanted money. They said that, you don't need credit card. Here's some cash. Just take the cash and use it wherever you want to do with it. Giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. One of the things that occurred to me during the trial, and we fought out, was when he had the pre-sentence report, when the IRS was all in, and with this money going out, this cash coming out of the bank, hand over fist. And then we found out that I think there's $10 million worth of IRS liens against him currently, according to the PSI. He did use, some of the money to, for good, because there's evidence he gave money to many people who merely, some of the people, they didn't ask for it. Okay. Now, and then the final thing that, is rather than being a pedophile, he's, according to the diagnosis, as I understand it, other specific paraphilic disorder, meaning he has a sex problem, a problem with controlling his sex, which is pretty obvious from the evidence in the particular case. So we have the case here. It's always difficult when you impose a sentence because it's very, easy to understand. One of the things that I think that we should make very clear, that under the federal system, we have truth in sentencing. It's unlike the state of Illinois, where you get a day for good time. So that if you sentence somebody 30 years, they're actually going to serve 15. Unless they, really misbehave. Okay. Now, in this federal system, usually you get good time around 10%. And so for a 30-year sentence would be approximately 27 years as opposed to 30. So, we're not talking about no matter what I do, Mr. Kelly is not going out the door after today. Let me make that very clear. To the people in the back, the people in the middle, the people up top, and the people under me. No matter what I do. I'm sorry? Did you say something?
Did you just add that to the script, Your Honor?
I did. I wanted to make it very clear because we've had a lot of mischief out there and misspellings and mistruths put out here on these YouTube streets, and I wanted to make it very clear because it's here in the transcripts.
Out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
He's never getting out. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No problem. And he's out. He's never going out the door. He's not going out the door in the next 10 years. He's not going out the door in the next 20 years. One of the things that we should bear in mind is that he is 56 years old currently. Okay, he's 56. As I recall from the PSI, and as Ms. Bonjean pointed out, he has a life expectancy of, not a hell of a lot more. I mean, not maybe 8, 10 years. Now, of course, that's a life expectancy which is based on statistics, not on that he may outlive it. He could not outlive it. He could not live it. But it's important to note that he is 56 years of age, and he will not complete his full sentence from New York until he's, at least close to 80 years old. So the government is asking to add another 25 years, which assuming that he did, in which he could, be as much as 107 before he gets out. Now, there's no question that, well, I suppose that there's a theoretic possibility a person could live to be 107, but, would not be anywhere near, what we could expect. So his chances of surviving, based on statistics, the sentence he already has is not good. But the sentence that the government is proposing, it would be, there's no chance. The U.S. Sentencing Commission has indicated that a de facto life sentence is 470 months. And that's based on the average age of a prisoner receiving such a sentence, which is, I believe, the average age of 37. The median age is 36. So, you've got a pretty big discrepancy of those to 20 years difference between, that they consider to be a de facto life sentence of 470 months for a 56-year-old person. But a sentence, if consecutive, and if I gave the sentence that the government is requesting, you're talking about 660 months, which is rather substantial, above what's considered already to be a de facto life sentence. Now, the guideline manual identifies age as potentially relevant sentencing factor. That's 5H1.1. Life expectancy is a relevant factor for older offenders. Now, the Seventh Circuit case of U.S. versus Wersinger, 467, stated that the worthy tradition that death in prison is not to be ordered lightly, and the probability of a convict who will not live out his sentence should certainly give pause to the sentencing court. In cases that don't recognize age as a factor, where it's been refused, it's for a downward departure, not for an upward departure. Now, we get into this issue of deterrence and protection of the public, which is a very important issue in sentencing. And that's been expressed by the government, saying that this man, he should not be allowed out there, and, he's going to be doing exactly what he did before. And Judge Posner said, courts acknowledge a lower rate of recidivism among our older defendants. That's U.S. versus Jackson. So the specific deterrence that, here would appear to be relatively minimal. The defendant will be 80. Okay? He'll be 80 years old by the time that he could be released. If he's alive then, he gets out of the New York sentence or close to 80, and his method of operation, his MO, as came out during the course of this trial, was grooming young girls. Now, he was grooming young girls when he was in his 20s. He was a millionaire. He was a superstar. When he gets out in his 80s, there will be few girls, who would be susceptible to his charms as a 80-year-old man with no money, no prospects. 80 years old are more interested. 80-year-olds are more interested not in grooming young women, but probably in their prostate and their arthritis and the other. All those factors go into the aging process. So anyway, as far as if I was, given a sentence, for Mr. I would probably have considered all these factors that I've outlined before. That I would have probably had a variance upwards of, top of the end of the guidelines, which was 168. Again, I think there was some evidence justification for the obstruction and some. And because of the increase in the current guidelines, so that in all probability, if I was sentencing Mr. Kelly as a result, I would have probably sentenced him in the neighborhood of 240 months. So I will. It seems to me that under all these facts and circumstances that is a valid sentence, the 240 months. But I'm going to make the only part that is going to be consecutive will be 12 months. So the sentence would be 228 months concurrent to be followed by 12 months consecutive. I'll have to work that out in various counts, but that would be the sentence. What was the terms of supervised release of Judge Donnelly? Does anyone know?
I do, Your Honor.
What were?
Hold on. I had to pull it up real quick.
Pardon?
I can pull it up real quick.
It is much different than what Mr. Alper has suggested. I guess, put another way, Miss Bonjean, have you reviewed the proposed terms of supervised release?
I have, Your Honor.
I think, it's relevant. It's not particularly relevant. Are there any that object to?
I did not see any, Your Honor.
Is the government satisfied with the proposed terms of supervised release? Ms. Appeting?
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
The terms of supervised release that were suggested by Mr. Alper.
Yes, Your Honor. Those are acceptable to the government.
Okay, so I will make them concurrent with the terms of supervised release imposed by Judge Donnelly. I assume that she did have a term of supervised release in the sentence, did she not?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Now, whether or not they can be done, Mr. Alper, is that something that can be done, or is that just a total confusion if there's differences?
I believe that there can be different.
Pardon?
I do believe that there can be a different set of conditions. He has the New York conditions and the Chicago.
I said making them concurrent. It's probably irrelevant anyway based on the length of the sentence.
She ordered 5 years supervised release, Your Honor.
All right. Well, why don't we just leave it that way? I just want, do I have to impose a term of supervised release?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Why don't I just impose a 5-year concurrent one under the same? Is there any objection to that if I make them the same terms?
Your Honor, I will note the maximum term of supervised release is 3 years.
3 years? Oh, okay. 3 years concurrent to the 5 years. Then, I'll waive the fine because of inability to pay. So the sentence is 240 months to 228 months concurrent to the New York sentence, 12 months consecutive to the New York sentence, no fine, term of supervised release. What did I say? I wasn't going to impose. Ms. Bonjean? Ms. Bonjean? Hold on, everyone. Riri, if you would like to jump in and read for Miss Bonjean, that would be pretty cool. Sponge, it's not you. I see that wasn't you. I'm going to have to delete that out my video. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Wow. I hate people sometimes. Okay. So let's move on. Unbelievable. Okay. Caleb, hold on. No, that's not Caleb.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. So now I'm worried
why
about
you
who
couldn't
coming
hear
in.
me.
Riri, is that you?
That's me. I saw something flash, but then I tried to see it and I messed up and signed out. What
What
happened?
was that?
You did not miss anything. Thank God you missed it.
Yeah, I'm glad you missed it too.
Was it
Okay.
porn or something?
Some idiot came in under SpongeBob's name.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah. Unbelievable.
wow. The hate is real.
The hate is freaking real.
That's crazy.
I hate people sometimes. Okay. Whoever that was, they need to. Okay, if they come back in, I'm gonna block the shit out of them.
Chat, get them. Get them.
All right,
They
we
weren't
got
never in the chat. They just came in under his name.
Yeah,
Oh,
SpongeBob, they played you. I'm sorry about that, boo.
yeah,
mhm.
freaking idiot. Okay, let me. Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm gonna let Riri jump in since she came on here. K-Love, let her read a little bit for Bonjean, if that's okay.
Okay.
All right, so start at 24. Riri, please.
All right. 3, right? 3 concurrent?
3 years concurrent under the same terms as imposed by Judge Donnelly, and also how many courts is the $100 special assessment for how many counts? Miss Appeting there?
6, Your Honor.
6, so $600 special assessment. Mr. Kelly, you're entitled to appeal the sentence imposed. Do you understand that, sir? Yes, sir. I'm led to believe by Miss Bonjean that you intend to appeal, and Miss Bonjean, you will, take care of the filing to the notice of appeal form. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Kelly, you can't afford an attorney while on appeal. One will be appointed to represent you. Do you understand that, sir? Yes, I do, Your Honor. Your Honor, 2 things. One, I just checked, and I did misspeak. There is no mandatory supervised release. All right? That must be imposed. There's no minimum term. Okay? My other question would be, just to make it easy, why don't we just not impose a term of supervised release? There's only one concern with that, Your Honor, would be that if there is if something happens with the New York case and there is an appeal, then there would be no supervised release to follow in the case. Well, if for some reason that that a conviction was overturned or a case vacated, I do believe that a term would be appropriate in the case to run concurrent. All right, well, I'll make it 3 years term, okay? Supervised release under the same terms as imposed by Judge Donnelly.
Concurrent, Your Honor?
Pardon?
Concurrent?
Concurrent, yes. So in the event that the case is vacated now, we proceed to the issue of this restitution. I have a few questions that I want to raise on the issue of restitution. What did Judge Donnelly provide for restitution? Did she issue an order for restitution?
Yes, Your Honor, she did. And we did. We did have a restitution hearing. Her restitution order was approximately 300 to 370,000 roughly. I'm going to get the exact amount if you give me 1 second. And there, of course, $379,649.90. Your Honor, the restitution that was awarded there, I will point out, was based on actual data evidence of what it would cost to treat one of the victims. Actually, 2 of the victims, sexually transmitted diseases that they claim that they have and that they received that they got from Mr. Kelly, and for the lifetime supply of drugs and treatments like that. That is hotly contested issue, and it will be raised on an appeal in the Second Circuit. But I want to make clear that the number that came from, and actually the number for medication, one medication for the rest of their lives, it wasn't expert reports or any other type of evidence that the government is trying to use here. In fact, I never even seen anything of that type of evidence that to be used in restitution. So the number that was, that specifically connected to what the cost of the particular drug would be until the life expectancy of 2 of the victims or 3 of the victims, as I sit here today. And that's where the number largely came from, $379,000 and some change.
One of the questions I have, I guess, to the government is,
And I appreciate the fact that the law provides that the ability to pay any restitution is not relevant, or it's not a defense to restitution. But does the government have any notions that there is something available somewhere?
Your Honor, we have the same information that you do. As far as what's been, represented, and
the government is the biggest creditor at this time. The IRS, where there will be any basis that the IRS would yield to the defendant here, and will they insist on their rights as the lien holder?
Your Honor, I think that's precisely why the statute says that these things should not be considered, because it's looking into a lot of different factors. We don't know what's going to happen necessarily in the future. We don't, the courts have said that a defendant could win the lottery. That's the example the Seventh Circuit has used. So there are things that could happen in the future where he could, even if he has, a number of liens right now, that could change.
Has the government done any research, or are you aware of any research by the IRS or by any of the judgment creditors that they found out whatever happened to his rights to royalties?
Aaliyah's parents haven't. No, sorry. No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. We don't have that information.
Judge, I just want to point out that I actually represent Mr. Kelly on a number of those civil matters. And what I can represent to the court is this or that. A, it is entirely unclear. He does not know what percentage of royalty rights he even owns, frankly. That's one problem. Those royalty rights, they have been sold off over the years. It's not even clear what he owns. Second of all, the royalties that he received previously to his Eastern District New York case, they have now multiplied liens on them. What was held by Sony is spoken for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times at this point. If you take into account the default judgment, which now with interest and close to $10 million, in addition to the liens, the United States federal government, that is a part. So this idea that there's more money out there and the government has restrained everything. So they know what's there. They know that there's nothing there, but because they've not been able to get it. So all that I can say is, yeah, I suppose that you can win the lotto, but the reality is he's going to prison. He's not going to make any music anymore. He can't make music anymore. Where whoever is leaking his music are the people making the money. But he's certainly not getting any proceeds from any of his money. And whatever he has is spoken for. And we all know that his music isn't played because of the cancel culture and all that. And that's fine, but he's not earning income. And there will be no money unless something dramatically changes.
There was something on the internet as I was going through YouTube. It says, new R. Kelly album, I admit, is a bootleg. Now, not an official release, according to Sony. And I believe that they quoted you saying that you knew nothing about it either.
That's right, Your Honor. I don't think that Mr. Kelly would have preferred the title if he was going to be releasing music, but that was not released in any official way. Unfortunately, as I mentioned to you, there's been a lot of financial exploitation of Mr. Kelly over the years, and a lot of his music has been stolen.
Well, does anybody know who was responsible for that, or who got, were there any sales or?
No, because as soon as within like 24 hours, as soon as Sony said that it was bootleg, it was taken off the internet. So I don't know who released it. We did try to investigate it, but we just don't know who released it or who had it. and he certainly made no proceeds from it. And I'm not sure anybody did, because it was removed very quickly.
Okay, well, I've reviewed both sides, multiple submissions on the issue of restitution. And it seems that while the law does provide for restitution to the victims in this particular case, Jane, Pauline, and Nia, the government's submission seems to follow the line similar to a tort case, a civil tort. As far as, seeking damages are concerned, although they phrase it in a different, particularly different way. But the difference, it seemed to me that the restitution is meant, to be simple or relatively simple procedure whereby the victims get together, their actual expenses, the proven expenses, and bring them into the court or to the probation office or whomever. And then, I get a report, and then the court would, then issue a restitution order. The defendant, pay these bills. I've gone through pretty, carefully the submissions, and the only really close to an actual item of actual expenditure is alleged by Pauline, who spent $42,000 for therapy services, most of which apparently were not covered by insurance. So I'm kind of, the rest, they say that basically, what they're saying is that they should have received all this medical care, and they should have received all this therapy, and all three of them over the years. And therefore, Kelly is responsible for that, and they should have had to spend what they didn't. So it seems to me that, you're really talking about is a claim for tort damages, which, of course, if there was a lawsuit and there were multiple lawsuits against them, which, of course, then, you have the concept of discovery and depositions. So you can actually determine, cross-examine the experts who claim that the particular condition or that condition is casually related to the actual misconduct of Mr. Kelly. Now, that's not the purpose, as I understand it, of restitution. The purpose of restitution is to reimburse for the expenses that they were caused to incur, and also to cause for some future. But it seems to me that there's been no evidence other than Pauline. I believe it was one of them testified to $42,000. And that was Pauline, who actually, would be, if she did, then it would be subject to the restitution. Obviously, future matters which haven't occurred yet could, be if they're casually related. But I'm having a difficult time getting through what, and how to handle this restitution. So maybe I should turn it over to the government and ask you if you want to comment on my comments.
Yes, Judge. Your Honor is absolutely right. The restitution statute provides that the victim should be reimbursed for their losses reasonably projected to be occurred in the future. And that's in section 2259. That deals with, excuse me, I'm going to make this a little bigger. Okay, getting old. And that's in section 2259 that deals with the sexual exploitation offenses before the court. And that statute, Congress and the case law that discusses it specifically points out is because the damage that is done based on these types of crimes is lifelong. And so people that have gone through that, and you heard it from the victims themselves today, they're still struggling. They still need help. And so what we've tried to do is put together information and assessment showing that that is still, one of many needs they have. But mental health care, you heard from the victims today, that is a top priority. It's expensive, and the defendant should have to pay for that, given that he caused this trauma by abusing them. And so, we've put forth the case law in our memo here. It's not an exact science. We can't predict with certainty, the years of therapy that will be needed. But in many cases, Judge Kendall Whitley's decision being one in particular cited studies that show that it's a lifelong process. And so that's what we've come up with in terms of being able to estimate. And Your Honor can do that. You can estimate what will be needed based on the literature before you, based on Dr. Cooper's assessments that we put before you, Your Honor. So that is one of the main asks of the government that you impose. It's mandatory. Each of these victims must receive restitution. And so the issue becomes the amount. And so there's a lot of different ways you can calculate the amount. That's one of the reasons why the government had, asked for additional time for Your Honor to take these issues under advisement. They are somewhat complicated in terms of assessing all the information. So we want to make sure we had enough time to address those, allow defense counsel to weigh in on her arguments. And that's where the government's position is on this issue.
Ms. Bonjean?
Yes, Your Honor. The government continues to say that the restitution is mandatory. And that is true if they meet their burden. But it's not just you must give them the number. That is not statute. They still bear the burden of demonstrating what the appropriate restitution number is. The government suggests that you can just pull a number out of thin air based on some scholarly article somewhere. And the article that they're actually citing for the cost is an article that talks about what the cost of sexual abuse or rape is for society, not for Jane, not for Pauline, and not for Nia, but for society, the criminal justice cost. So it's completely applicable and should provide no guide for this court. Again, the victims are not entitled to restitution for what it costs the criminal.
Riri, I think your SpongeBob phone went out. No point intended, SpongeBob. Riri, you there? I think her phone went out.
I'm here. I'm in the dark now. We're having a tornado warning.
Oh.
Okay. I'm back. I lost my Wi-Fi, so it's on my okay. Right. What line am I on? Again, the victims are not entitled to restitution for what it costs the criminal justice system to prosecute Mr. Kelly. That is not, and that's what the article is about. Secondly, they still have to show a promate, I don't know how to pronounce it. Proximate cause. Now, here's the unique problem with this case. This conduct is 25 years old. And so the proximate cause issue is it's a little more complicated. And some self-reporting that's my hypertension or my, the feelings about something or are caused by Mr. Kelly is not you. No. Where'd I go? Is not, it should require a little more self-reporting. I think that we should at least be able to see if some victims have actually sought.
I think your phone went out again, Riri.
Oh, shoot. Give me 1 second. Let me just turn it off so it won't go on Wi-Fi. Hold on 1 sec.
Okay.
Because my lights keep coming back on and off.
Okay. Gotcha. Man.
It looks like he listened to every one of her arguments.
He really did. I think he really was feeling Bonjean. He was feeling her.
Because that last sentence, and then he only gave that one victim the money, money because she had already been going to therapy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then even with the concurrent sentences. Oh, she lost her signal.
Okay.
Read.
You can read. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I think we should at least be able to see if some victims have actually sought mental health treatment in the past. So as the court pointed out, there is evidence that Pauline sought mental health treatment in the past. There you go, Riri.
What line are we on? I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. 17.
17. Okay. So as the court pointed out, there is evidence that Pauline sought mental health treatment in the past, which I guess is an indicator at a cost. We don't have any receipts for that, but let's just say that,
Hold one moment. King Johan, if that's you, please let me know if that's you, bro. I don't want nobody coming on here again doing that stuff. Is that you, King Johan? Type in the private chat if that's you, bro. Type in the private chat if that's you, King Johan. Thank you, K-Love92. Hold on. Matter of fact.
Have them text you.
Yeah, Johan, text me, bro. Text me and let me know if that's you backstage. Matter of fact, I can call Johan.
$8.
Yeah, make sure ain't nobody, you ain't gonna get me like that again. Whoever that was. Y'all hold on a moment. Thanks for your patience. Let me see. King Johan. Okay, that's me, bro. Okay, that's him. What up, man? King Johan, what up? Take it. You're on mute.
Yo, can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, man. What's going on with you, bro?
What's happening, everybody?
Hey.
Yeah, what's happening?
Chilling, man. It's good to hear from you, brother.
Yes, sir, all the time, brother.
All right, you can hang around if you want to, bro.
I'm here.
All right, awesome. Okay, go ahead, Riri.
So, as the court pointed out, there's evidence. Oh, wait, I don't already read that, huh?
It's okay.
21. But for instance, Jane, there's not a single statement that she's ever sought mental health treatment. So, for them to say, well, this is going to, we're going to give a number to project it into the future. We didn't even hear that she was even going to seek mental health treatment in her statement. She's not here to even tell us that. That doesn't even meet the burden. And I asked the court, if the court is going to consider Dr. Cooper's expert reports, this is a woman that spoke to these victims on the phone and then diagnosed them with the possible things that they could suffer in the future. I'm not even sure how she did it. Like, this is not the type of evidence that is reliable. It's not subject to any adversarial process. She's not subject to cross-exam. And how is she determined, for instance, one victim's varicose veins are caused by Mr. Kelly? I mean, it's really outside the realm. And there's assumptions that at least with Jane, that she's disabled for life. I mean, there is an Eighth Amendment issue that comes up with the excessive restitution rewards. And they have an obligation to provide the proof. They have had years to do it. And what have they provided was an expert report that they can use perhaps in their civil lawsuit, which, with how statutes of limitations are going, they'll probably can bring. So that's what they have provided. But this isn't evidence of restitution. My paper also demonstrates that there's a whole question of whether expert reports paid for by a victim are even admissible on standing grounds. It is the government that is asking for the restitution on behalf of the victims, and that they are entitled to it if the burden is met. But not, a plaintiff, or I'm sorry, a victim herself.
All right.
Has no personal standing.
Marianne, could you jump in real quick?
Okay, what line are we on?
We're on line 5.
Line 5. And these reports, unfortunately, just don't provide a sufficient nexus between this, what they're projecting into the future, which has no past to corroborate it. And there's no nexus. Dr. Cooper doesn't explain how she reaches the conclusion that these damages into the future are related to Mr. Kelly. And there's a whole 25 years in between could could account for at least some of this damage. We don't know. I mean, Jane wants to blame Mr. Kelly for the death of her father. Her death, her father died, as I understand it, from a heart attack or something of that nature. I mean, I suppose there's a theory out there, but we should be entitled to question that. It's a little far removed. It's not what restitution contemplates. And if we're going to put any emphasis on these reports, we should have the opportunity to challenge them in a meaningful way. So I would object to the use of these reports as some type of ground, some type of basis for damages into the future for the rest of these women's lives. When, particularly since there's no history that these supports that they would actually go get mental health treatment, except with Pauline, I guess, since she has indicated she did. Finally, with Nia, as the court knows, she already sued Mr. Kelly and testified at trial that she received a $500,000 settlement. So, I mean, and the sentencing guidelines allow for an offset. So it's too far removed. The proximate cause nexus has not been demonstrated sufficiently. If the court is interested in having that type of hearing, we could do that. But I don't believe it's appropriate. And we'd object to the reliance of those reports.
King Johan, you can be the judge, the court. Go ahead. Johan, you still here, brother? I think you're on mute. You're on mute, brother. Johan, you good?
Johan, like Tanya was last night.
He probably sleep. Okay, I'll jump back in. Well, it seems to me that the restitution is not intended to be in the sense, well, it's adversary, obviously, but in the same sense of the civil trial in which, issues the causation is very, very iffy. So that it would, require plenty of time. If there was an effort to do so for each side to hire experts and to depose them and then, have a full-blown, same thing as if you had a civil trial. Because obviously there's three ladies who, have had some seriously, injured and entitled to some type of recompense. But it just doesn't, seem to me that the restitution is a proper vehicle to do that. And so, with the exception of Pauline, I will award restitution of $42,000. But it seems to me that, that is, as far as Jane and Nia, Nia did recover. I thought it was, $200,000 to $220,000, which she said in an affidavit. I think that she actually recovered from her lawyer, probably, took the rest. So, just so she, she would not be entitled to any. So with that, the exception of Pauline, I'll order restitution of $42,000 and deny restitution for Jane and Nia. Anything further? Go ahead. You can read Ms. Pozzolo, Riri.
All right.
Thank you.
Your Honor, just for the record, this is the government objects to the calculation. And we just think that, based on everything that Your Honor saw at trial today, the literature before Your Honor, the case law, child exploitation cases, victims need mental health treatment. So at minimum, Your Honor, can establish, can estimate what the average hourly rate is. We included that information. You can you can bear that out of a number of years. It's very important to the government representing this district and the victims that we need to ask for that, Your Honor. And we feel strongly about this issue. If Your Honor's not comfortable with, the reports that we provided, we can, put additional information in front of your honor. And you have the ability to hold this over a period of time. You can review additional papers and issue a separate order. We're asking that be considered.
Well, I considered that, but it seems to me that, they should have done or should do is bring a civil suit against Mr. Kelly and then proceed accordingly. I appreciate the fact that he appears to be, judgment proof, but as you and, as I guess pointed out once, who knows? Maybe if, he gets, mega million, he'll get $1 million settlement actually. But if you consider the issue, the situation, the government, their liens of $10 million. And I understand that the IRS, that, the mounting penalties and interest, that they double, pretty quickly. So, if it was 10 million, it's probably 15 or 20 million now. So, we're not talking about, whether really practical way that, we can do anything for these people. But it seems to me that, what they really should do is just go to the tort route and sue him for damages that he obviously did cause to them. But without specific payments, with the exception of Pauline, who indicates she spent $42,000, I'm going to deny the restitution for the others. Anything further?
Am I budging it? Judge, the last issue that I would like to just place on the record is that historically, when Mr. Kelly has been either found guilty in the Eastern District or sentenced, the Bureau of Prison automatically puts him on suicide watch. And the policy, as I understand it, is he is supposed to be assessed. Because of the Epstein factor, when you're high profile, they automatically put you on suicide watch. It seems like, and it is, it actually required me to file a lawsuit against the BOP and the Eastern District because he was not suicidal. They put him on suicide watch, and suicide watch is in and of itself a pretty cruel and unnecessary for his own mental health. In fact, it creates mental health issues. So I want the record to be very clear here. Mr. Kelly was very aware of the sentencing, what he was coming into. He's already under a sentence of 30 years. He is perfectly understood what the consequences were. He understands his sentence here. He is not suicidal. And if the BOP conducts an appropriate assessment of him, they will find that he is not suicidal. So I want the record to be clear. I understand the court has its own limitations in how the BOP runs, but I do want to make it a matter of public record that I have spoken to my client. There are no surprises here, and he was expecting this. And there is absolutely no reason for him to be placed on suicide watch. And if they place him on suicide watch, that to me, that would be seen as an interpretation of punitive action that's unjustifiable.
All right. As you point out, there's an Article 2 or Article 1 job to do, that sort of thing, not Article 3. And so the record will show that you have made that statement. That's up to the Bureau of Prisons to make that decision, not for Article 3 judges. Anything further then? Ms. Apathy?
Yes, Your Honor. The government moves to dismiss the forfeiture allegation in the indictment.
All right. Well, without objection, the forfeiture is dismissed.
Nothing further from the government, Your Honor. Nothing from the defendant. Thank you, Your Honor.
I certify the foregoing is a correct transcript from the record and proceedings and the above entitled matter. Joseph Rickoff, February 28th, 2023. Great job, ladies. Great job. Thank y'all so very much. Now let's talk a little bit about what we just experienced. Man, so a lot came out. Tonight. I know you about to hit the set, Marianne.
I'm still up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, so this is crazy. So King Johan, I know you was listening while you was driving, man. What you think about this, man? What you think about Jane and Nia not getting a dime? King Johan, you here, brother? Oh, okay. Yeah, you having phone issues. What do y'all think, ladies? Riri, what you think about that?
I think they so
Riri, you sound like you in the Matrix.
oh oh no, we having a tornado
Oh,
watch and everything out here, so my signal probably is kind of jacked up right now.
King Johan, you here, bro?
Yeah, I'm here, bro. It's the storm coming in right now. It's been messing
Oh,
with the
everybody. Okay. Oh, y'all got them storms. Okay, cool.
Yes. No, wait,
Where are you, Riri?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, I'm in Phoenix right now. So yeah, it's coming.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Y'all be
they've
safe.
already tore up some houses and some
Oh
buildings and
yeah.
everything.
Oh,
Yeah, it was going crazy last night. I'm talking about like stupid.
y'all be safe, man. Y'all be safe. So
Thank you.
what do y'all think about what do y'all think about the girl about Jane and Nia not getting a dime?
I think they should get, because of everything they went through with him, I think they should get every penny that they can possibly get for
Okay,
restitution.
so let me
I think
see.
it's
Oh,
also.
here's this SpongeBob thing again. Let me ask SpongeBob. Oh, hold on. It's time. It's gonna be me this time. Clicking the link. Okay.
Yeah,
SpongeBob.
it's me.
Okay. Man.
That was scary
You
now.
know, that
Yeah.
wasn't the same name. What's up?
Super
I was like,
sus.
what the hell is going on? I'm like,
Man.
I didn't click that link.
Oh, that's crazy. I know you was like, what the hell? That ain't me.
Yeah.
I'm like, SpongeBob, you left your camera on. Stop.
Yeah.
Put back on your square pants.
Oh
Man, see,
man.
I was about to say, SpongeBob
Oh.
SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh,
Boy.
man.
So, SpongeBob, what you think about? Oh, go ahead, Riri. Finish your point. You say you believe they should have got every.
Yeah, I was just saying I believe that they deserve every penny that they could possibly get, because that's a lot. That's a lot to go through, and they're gonna have to deal with this for the rest of their lives. He has created mental health issues for them, and that's not something that's just gonna disappear.
I was under the impression that I think that they would have, well, probably not had more success, but I think it would have been a more meaningful impact statement if she had have read her own impact statement, looked him eye to eye, and really was able to face him. You know what I mean? And it makes me wonder if she just simply couldn't face him because realistically she still is in love with him and didn't want to have to go forward and say that to him.
Yeah, I mean, that could be them taxes. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you got to think about what it ended up ultimately comes to is Stockholm. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they going through it, and you know what I mean, dealing with it at the same time. But in the process of it, you done had these feelings conjured up, and I say conjured up because it's not nothing that's been naturally attained. You know what I mean? It's based off manipulation. You know what I mean? So so even within, she looked, couldn't be, what I mean? That's like I couldn't, if it was something like that, I couldn't see myself. That's like you take that back to a childhood crush or something like that. You still might, and you grown at whatever age you at now, you still may see or have that same type of feeling or interaction based off, because you got to think about it. It's not you as whatever age you're at.
Right.
It's that child. It's that person at that age when it happened. So you still
good point.
Look at it the same way.
Marianne, what you think?
So as far as the lack of restitution, I hate to admit this, but like just reading what Bon Jean had to say, like made me think about a few things. Like one of the things that she said was that like a lot of the things that the government was asking for were symbolic. So she argued that the extra time was symbolic because he was going to die in prison anyways. But I think that same could be added to the restitution, because when you listen to the judge, it sounds as though he believed that, you know, if there was money to give, that they should get restitution. However, like if you just look at what he owes the IRS alone, there's
Good
no money
point.
to be to give out.
Good
So
point.
like, yeah, do they deserve that money? Absolutely.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because the people that went to the court and that came out that were talking online was saying that like the judge was kind of looking at them like, y'all ain't getting no money, y'all done got y'all money already. I didn't read that. I didn't read, you know, that he was telling them, oh, y'all some greedy blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Like he was pretty much saying, listen, I think y'all will have better luck doing this civilly than through here. You know what I'm saying? And like, so I didn't see him as being malicious. I really feel like he felt for the victims. I really feel like he was disgusted by what R. Kelly did. He said if it would have been up to him, R. Kelly would have been found guilty of obstruction. You know?
Yeah.
And so that's a whole nother issue. SpongeBob, you want to jump in and put your take on this, brother?
Which part of it?
How do
Any
you
part?
feel about anything, whatever you what's on your mind?
Can I just talk about the elephant in the room, which are the two big lies that I've heard from the other side? I don't want to single anyone out, but
yeah,
I'm not going to say anyone's name, but like we've heard two big lies. The first one that they said was if somehow the New York case gets overturned on appeal, it automatically overturns the Chicago case and the Chicago sentence. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? That's a constitutional violation. There's separate jurisdictions. That would be Article 3 constitutional crisis. I'm just as an attorney, I'm just thinking off the top of my head of numerous problems there. The other big lie has been this supervised release thing. And I noticed that's when the person pranked me, is when I brought up the supervised release, because they do not want me talking about that. Because they all there are some of them saying he's getting out in 3 years from now on supervised release. Yeah, I've
But they
heard.
also said he wasn't going to be found guilty. Remember, they had inside connections.
Yeah, I know. They're not going to listen to me now. They never listen to me. So this is more for people who are receptive to logic and actual facts and statutes and shit like that. You know. Sorry.
He has a good
Cookie,
point.
Cookie says you can't blame people for ignorance of sentencing laws. That's
No,
true.
no. It's not like that at all. No, I don't blame them for not knowing what they are. I blame someone who, not like the regular supporters, but like if you're like a blogger, I feel like some of them are kind of maliciously doing it. I don't have any proof of that, but
no, you're right. Some of them are maliciously doing it. I had one person, another blogger, who came on my channel and said I was wrong and was telling her channel, you know, hey y'all, so y'all see that this blogger, he's saying R. Kelly, the way this is set up, R. Kelly could get out if the New York thing, and then he could be gone in 3. And I put up you posted something, SpongeBob, that I snatched and put on there, and like the person just came back acting like they didn't say anything.
Right. Well, I mean, they're going to believe what they want to believe, I guess. But just to be clear, supervised release only comes after prison sentences served. And here that would be roughly 85 to 90% of whatever the sentence is. So let's say in his wildest absolute imagination, R. Kelly got New York reversed. Chicago is still there. There's still the 20 years there. And he's got to do 85 to 90% of that. And no, there will not be supervised release before he's done with 85 to 90% of that.
Period.
Unless you overturn both appeals, which is
that's a different story.
statistically speaking, that would be unbelievable.
Listen,
I don't see it happening, but you never know.
SpongeBob, if that happened, things would get very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that happening as a practical matter, though, which is the same thing that the Judge L talked about, his age. I think that's going to be in the back of the minds of the appellate courts. As he's still in his 50s, he's it's iffy. If you weigh whatever alleged issue they're raising on appeal versus pretty dang strong evidence, probably some of the strongest evidence ever to support convictions.
Yeah.
I don't know. You never ever know what happens. I'm just saying, like, the chances are 1 in a million.
It would take a Herculean effort by Bonjean to get that thing done like that.
I mean, 2 appeals that are based on jury trials, unanimous convictions.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I don't see it.
She would have to find something where the judge ruled on something incorrectly.
Yeah, but it would have to be major incorrect.
It's going to be. He ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere.
I have a question. I think it was the state. I'm not all that familiar with like the different kinds of courts, but I think it was the state that dropped charges. Was that the state?
Mm-hmm. It was a state.
Yeah,
so
Chicago.
When they dropped charges,
Illinois,
like there were some people who were seeing that as a victory, but I saw that, or at least I thought that, like, the state was dropping charges because, or at least from what they said, he's already been charged with he's already been given or sentenced to 30 years.
Yeah.
And then he is going to get a substantial ruling in this court case. I'm wondering how they're feeling at the state and if they are disappointed because, they had to eat crow once, but now it's kind of eating crow twice. And it always keeps coming back to Chicago where we just don't do things the way that, like, you would imagine they would do it.
Well, I feel like the state, right, since he's already been convicted twice federally, the state to bring charges against him, then that's going to cost the state of Illinois a lot of the taxpayers' money for what? He's already getting ready to spend the rest of his life in prison.
Well, I think they'll only consider rebringing state charges if a crazy president pardons the defendant, which I do not think is likely. I mean, I don't think Trump likes him. I don't think Biden likes him. I don't, I don't, whoever the DeSantis, I can't see him doing that. So,
what do y'all think about this Minnesota case? Do y'all think it's going to be dismissed also?
I don't know.
I think Minnesota probably is staying strong, but Minnesota, the charges aren't as extreme.
They're nowhere close to as extreme. Like, what did he get, like a lap dance or something? In the private, he paid.
Like, how are you gonna? Yeah, like, I don't even know how that's about to be proven.
Ken Johan, what you think? What you think about?
Word.
I'm sorry, rewrite me to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Ken Johan, what you think about Minnesota? I think you're on mute, brother.
He's been texting in the chat box.
Oh, I see him in the chat. Okay, so Ken Johan said he better get a bunch of Snickers because it's gonna be a while. He also said that's the only reason why they're dropping it because of money.
Can I just say something a little more on the supervised release?
Yeah.
What the judge is saying on the supervised release is,
dang, SpongeBob Blue's Clues phone went out now.
that was.
Let's start over, SpongeBob. SpongeBob, you there?
My sister-in-law is calling me. My sister-in-law is calling me as I'm on the phone. Oh, geez.
You need to answer that and come back?
I hope she's actually trying to reach my wife. I'm on the iPad and it goes to like both of our phones get picked up on this damn thing. So what was I gonna supervised release? What Judge L ordered is after the prison sentences are done, like it's gonna run the two supervised releases would run concurrent. So hypothetically, New York got reversed. Super Hail Mary is caught. The 3-year supervised release in Illinois would be served concurrently with the I'm echoing now.
Probably
Sorry,
turn down a
sorry.
device.
The 3 years is supposed to serve concurrently with the 5 years. So if New York gets reversed, then there's no longer a concurrent supervised release in New York. So the government was saying we need to have some kind of supervised release in place in case New York gets reversed. So, you know, he does the 20 years and then he can do the 3 years supervised release. But otherwise, the 3 years in Chicago of supervised release will run concurrently with the 5 years in New York while he's serving the New York, after he serves the New York sentence, and the 1 year of the Chicago consecutive. So after he serves the 31 years, then he'll do 5 years of house arrest supervised release.
There you go.
Sorry if that's I may have over complicated that. I hope I don't know.
That's perfect. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Bottom line, he ain't getting out.
He ain't getting out.
He ain't getting out. He ain't never coming home.
Unless let's say that the way it's set up right now, he should not get out. But anything can happen in an appeal and all that.
And see, and that's the thing. And by them saying because I remember when I seen it, the news in Chicago when they was talking about they was dropping everything. I was like, there go his only chance of trying to, you know, file that appeal, that have a good chance at that appeal in New York. But the thing about Chicago is there's so much going on over there. There's so much going on with the mayor, with Lightfoot, and with the whole
loss.
Exactly. Beetlejuice need to get up out of there. But that's a whole nother thing. Man, my city, man, I can't look. Anywho, but the state there, it's about the money. They already know, you know what I mean, because they still got the trial act, they still got to do all that other stuff. So they needed to stop it where it needed to be at because they already seeing it where it's at. I don't see him getting out unless that's why I put in the chat. I don't see him getting out unless. And that unless is if he got a cheat code. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what the powers that be, on whoever running stuff. Again, I didn't think Kodak Black was gonna get out of jail, but hell,
he did get out. Yeah.
You feel me? So it's just on the perspective. I say this, and we done said this a long time, man, doing this. I don't see why my mans ain't just go ahead and just take that plea, dog.
Yeah,
I don't think
he's a narcissist, so he thought he was gonna get away with it again.
Right, because see the thing, and what it is with these charges, though, how they do it when they approach you, they know they got something. They may not have you on the highest charge that they got implemented, but they want to get you on something. That's why they put all, like, say, for example, you can have a situation at your house, a simple situation at your house, and it can be an argument, and somebody from the outside call the police. Now they can charge you with disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, property damage, whatever.
Disturbing
the peace, exactly. And they gonna hit you with that. They will hit you with all and they show you that and how you plea down to one. Just all they want is the conviction. But my man's being dumb, nigga. Just take what you know you doing this. Take the plea.
So based on and I'm interested in hearing SpongeBob's opinion on this, because there was a part that we were reading that Atmos was like, it sounds like Kelly's camp really tried to do a plea, but that the government wasn't trying to hear that.
Right, I heard that as well.
Was that what you thought, SpongeBob, when you heard that?
My interpretation of it is the government wanted him to take a plea deal for the obstruction of justice charges, and he didn't want to do that. So he wanted to fight those, and he won on those. So he was actually proven right by fighting those. So yeah, I think that's what happened there. That's my best guess. We weren't in the room, but that just reading, between the lines there, that's what it looked like to me.
Gotcha.
And remember, like, who was it that just said that? King? Johan? Yeah, the government really cares about its conviction rate.
That's it. That's all they want is that conviction rate.
Hold on.
So,
K-Love92, is this you? K-Love92, is this you? Type in the chat for me, please.
Atmos has been traumatized. No one.
Yeah, man. Pop somebody come up here doing that. I can't stand people.
So the government didn't want to hurt its conviction rate by accepting no plea to the obstruction charges. But then they lost anyway, though. They lost anyway on those.
Oh, so okay, it's her. Okay. What's up, K-Love?
Hey, I just wanted to ask a question. When she brought that point up about the possible plea deal, do you think he didn't want to plead to the obstruction because of his co-defendants? Because when he said it, I thought about it because that was the point of McDavid and the other one being in the case.
I don't know. Could be. I mean, it could be, that makes it also look more like a conspiracy. It enhances the enterprise findings in the other case. Could be. Could be.
I think he fell on his sword for them.
One thing you can say about R. Kelly, he ain't snitch on nobody.
Yeah, he fell on the sword.
And all. Yep.
My apologies for earlier. I was having an internet problem.
Oh, you good?
Shit, we all is.
Yeah.
Because I was I'm listening. I'm listening like
I had the misfortune of being a few seconds behind on my iPad and I saw it.
Well, that's all I had. Good night. Talk to you guys later. Good night.
Okay, SpongeBob. Thank you, brother.
Good night.
Hey, SpongeBob.
All right.
What's
later.
up? T-Ban once said RSK didn't win the obstruction charge, but David won it. But because they were tried together. Yeah,
I feel like he didn't want to take it because I feel like he just again being that narcissist. Like I ain't do shit wrong. It's just it's simple. He just felt like, nah, I'm good. I got it. You've been getting away with it for how long?
Right.
30 years. 30 years.
Right.
Like if he would have got, say for example, he would have got popped off in the beginning, my man's would have treaded likely would have moved a little different.
Way different.
Different.
If they would have popped him in 2008.
Listen, he would have been cool. My man would have been straightened up and fine white. He would have been walking around here with a 43-year-old when he was however old. You know what I mean? He would at least waited. So I just felt like it was that narcissistic trait of just, hey, I'm me. I'm Kels. I've been getting away with it for 30. I'm cool.
I could definitely see how somebody would think that he was a narcissist. But I think and I mentioned this in the chat a couple days ago. I think the other thing that is impacting how he reacts and if he reacts and what he says and what he doesn't say is the fact that he just has so many trials. And I know Bonjean, she was fighting for it in New York for them to wait on going ahead and
the sentencing.
Yep, so that he could get a chance to come back and say like, yo, I'm sorry. This is what I'm doing to rectify it. But because he has so many trials after that, like, that wasn't in his best interest. He was in a lose-lose when it came to expressing remorse. Especially if he was going to say he was innocent.
You see, even with the saying that he was innocent, if they were smart, and I just say if they were smart, like y'all know, like they all seen, like when you're the lawyer, whether it's prosecution or defense, you are presented with all forms of evidence. So they know this nigga. They know this nigga was hella guilty. If it would have been smart, it would have been smarter and it's just me. You throw yourself on the mercy of the court, like, hey, look, my man, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, blase, blah. I felt like this. Okay, yeah, you use the evidence you use the evidence as your witness to what you're saying, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? To what you trying to say, to where like, okay, this is I did this, I did that, and I did that. Cool. But in my mindset, I didn't see it as it being like that because of this, that. And then you can talk about all this past trauma, all this PTSD that he done had, and by him being famous and getting away with it, all it did was reinstate that mindset that he already had. So he didn't know no other difference. If that's just me. That would have been the angle I would have tried to use, knowing that this nigga guilty.
Yeah, I hear you. And if he had done that, he would have first had to admit.
Yeah, he got to admit.
And show remorse. And then he probably would have needed to be in counseling. You know, he was going to have to do some things to prove himself in order to try to throw himself on the mercy of the court. Because there was too much damning evidence against him.
Too much.
And that he did himself. You know, the split or the division between the two parts of his legal team are based off the fact that some of them were realistic and they were like, homie, look, we have all these tapes. Like, you're gonna go this way. And the other ones was selling them dreams. Yep. Think like, oh no, you innocent. No, my nigga, you guilty as hell, bro. I seen the tapes. That's you.
Do y'all think it would have came out any better if he had stuck with Greenberg?
Yes.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Greenberg would have changed the whole outcome.
Greenberg would have changed the whole narrative of this whole case. He would have attacked them victims.
Yep.
He would have attacked them. He sure would have. And he would have definitely caused a reasonable doubt. He would have.
Yeah. Because that's all it has to be.
Yeah, he said there ain't nothing we can do about the tapes. But
all you got to do is I mean to cut you off, bro. All you need to do is just show reasonable doubt, just a doubt, a slither of like, you know what? I get what he's saying, man. Instead of going in there like, I ain't do nothing. No, my man, that was you. That was you. Man, on all angles. That was you.
Him in there talking.
Yeah, that's my point. Like they should have got him on stand. They should have used his he's special and all this other shit. Excuse me, French. They should have used that. Like, hey, y'all see, look, man, at the end of the closing statement, y'all see this nigga retarded.
Oh, here's my thing.
I didn't mean to say it like that, but I'm saying.
I got you. But here's my thing. You are advised to not speak during your trial, but they let you talk to YouTube bloggers?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm sure.
That's why I say a lot of it, yeah, my man's guilty, but a lot of it still goes to the point he was kind of railroaded, but the defense didn't make it the defense didn't make it no better.
Now somebody said something the other day, and I'm gonna be honest. It made me think. What if R. Kelly lawyers would have been Kanik, Greenberg, and Bonjean?
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a different case.
It's a different case.
No,
because you got Greenberg. He quarterbacking it all.
Bonjean is the damn offensive coordinator. I mean, Greenberg's the offensive coordinator.
Bonjean the quarterback.
And
Kanik, he receiving. Right. He good. That's what I'm saying. They would have had a better chance, especially with Greenberg, because they would have set it up better to like, okay, this dude is guilty, but we want to show benefit of the doubt and discredit the witnesses.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the other thing that you have to keep in mind is if his lawyers would question if he had the ability to testify in a way that would make people open to receiving information from him. And I say that just based off of his behavior during the case. Like, I'm thinking about New York, where you're over there playing the piano. I'm thinking about like your body language. And if I'm your attorney, I'm gonna think about all those things before I put you on the stand and put you in a situation where you're making yourself seem like you're a sociopath.
I would have used all that as evidence to my advantage.
I mean,
y'all see what he doing? This man's just playing the piano,
this
writing a song
while his life is on the line.
He writing a hit song right now. Right now, my man is writing a hit song while he got 30 years in front of him. He don't know it's 30, but it's 30. But he writing a hit song right now. He just la da 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 da, all in the courtroom. Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's hard to be sympathetic to that when I see you, like fussing and beating, like you're using a lot of your common sense to abuse these women.
See, that's the thing.
If he had acted the way he acted on Gayle King, absolutely
Thank you. Yes, look, but even with the Gayle though, even with the Gayle King, even with the Gayle. Okay, we talking about the Saturday Night Live version or the real version?
They're basically the same.
The real version.
Okay. Okay, look, he said I'm fighting for my life. Okay, look, listen, I still would have used that because why you still showing like he has some real trauma he's dealing with. Again, they could have focused on that trauma he dealt with, and to where it was like, okay, he didn't get the help. If they would have played on that, it probably would have been better and flipped it around. Maybe even not coming at the witnesses and that's testifying against them. You flip that around like, okay, yeah, he did it, but this is why, and you see why. Use all that everybody's saying he can't read, write, or math, or whatever the case may be. Use all that as his defense.
And
they should have been instead of denying it.
And
if I was a jury,
a good job.
And if I was in the jury, I still would find him guilty just for the simple fact that, yeah, that is who he is. And he still did all of this. And you can't change that this soon to be letting him out of prison. So you're going to sit down and you're going to do your time.
Oh, no, he's still going to be guilty. Oh, no. He's still going to be
guilty.
Yeah, he just wouldn't have probably got 30, but he's still going to be guilty.
He wouldn't have got no 30. But
that would have helped for sentencing. That helps.
That would have helped for exactly because he was gonna be found guilty regardless, but he wouldn't have got 30 because he would have showed remorse. They would have still thought about it like, yeah, he done had. If they would have focused on the childhood trauma and everything, he was coached up. He was coached up and nurtured.
In a mental institution.
Yeah,
there you go. You thinking like me now, Kayla?
So he would have got
hospital. He need to be. Yeah,
that's a sickness. That's a sickness.
So wait, hold on. So like I'm in that field, and like you got to keep in mind that they had him evaluated. So his treatment is going to be based off that evaluation report. And
that nigga's
the results of that don't warrant institution
for him,
like putting him in a place where it's residential.
Because what it shows is he's a master manipulator.
Because he would have had to be found guilty on the reason of for insanity,
right?
That's in order to go to a mental institution.
That's why they should have used that as their angle.
You don't want to go there.
You really don't.
But
you really
even
don't.
If he went there, they need to have him so that even if he went to a mental institution, if he was ever to be found that he was okay, he would have to go finish the rest of his sentence in prison. Not just let him out on the streets, because some of them they let out on the streets, and then some of them they have to go finish their sentence in prison.
Oh, that's a hell of a sentence.
Yeah, because you're still serving the same amount of time. You know what I'm saying?
It's just a different. It's a different thing.
If you got 30 years and you spend 15 of those years in a mental health institution, and now they've deemed that your mind is mentally healthy, then you go spend the last 15 years back in prison. We're not about to put you out on the street.
Somewhere that
they can't do that though.
They do. They have people that have been, that they go from the mental institution. Now you are deemed healthy enough to go serve the rest of your sentence.
But wouldn't that be
when you go to prison, like you have your sentence outside of you doing something egregious and getting time added or being set up and given additional time. But when you go to those mental health facilities, they're looking at how you're responding to treatment. And then if you get certain diagnoses, it gets really hard to prove to people that I'm sane or that I'm not
right.
manipulating.
Once you get it, once you get, it's a difference with checking yourself in a mental institution because they show, and then exactly, then being required to go. Because if you checking yourself in, that's showing that you still got common sense,
Right.
and to understand, like, okay, yeah, something ain't right with me. Let me get myself straight out. So then they will let you out on your own recognizance because you feel because you checked yourself in. But if you didn't have to get instituted in and get sentenced to and ordained to, my nigga, you in there. They never letting you out.
And he already has several diagnoses. I
but
know
none
he
of
has
them
to get
warrant that
formally
he goes.
evaluated, but he has the issue with kids. He has mental
Put him in have him have kids. Listen, the best way I just thought of this. The best way for them to see if he okay or not, have some between 15 to 17-year-old girls ask him questions and see how he's saying. And if he respond when you say teenager, what you mean? Then we got a problem.
Bro,
But then you're gonna have issues with the 15 and the 17-year-old girls. They don't need to ask him a question. They could just put him in his view.
Just
far away.
That's
They're
like
gonna see how he's responding. Don't put him in the middle of it with them.
What'd you say,
they
bro?
have their own issues.
That's a kid again.
Let's not do that experiment, period.
That's
What'd you say, Alice?
That's like dangling a crack pipe in front of a recovering crackhead.
Hey, he gonna smoke that. He gonna smoke that. Look, he gonna start singing and everything. He gonna say,
doing a dance, doing a little jig.
La da 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 da.
I'm loving it.
La.
Oh,
Yeah, take him to McDonald's.
Right. See how he's look. See. I'm loving it. Now I'm back in the cell. Quit playing. Yeah. He started because he was trying to get a quarter pounder, but he wanted a Big Mac because it started with the letter Q, but it was a Big Mac.
So y'all, I just wanted to let y'all know, man. For those that didn't make it back, like Tanya with the T, and let me see who else will come on here. What was her name? The one that said, "Hi guys." What was her name? y'all know who I'm talking about.
I don't know who you're talking about. I can't remember. But I remember Shay.
Shay. And then what was that lady that was coming from England? Remember?
Oh yeah.
I remember her.
Yeah, I want to thank her. I want to thank her. You CJ, yeah, CJ. It was CJ.
CJ. Okay, there we go.
Hi guys. Yeah. Look, man, I appreciate y'all. Y'all were instrumental in helping to bring this together and giving people a different way of, we kind of recreated the way that people hear transcripts, and y'all helped me bring it to life. So I appreciate y'all for being a part of this. And we are now at the end of the road when it comes to this R. Kelly thing. It's over.
Yeah, I'm just so happy that you were doing this because I got stuck on somebody else's page at the beginning because I love trials. So
it's so much other
stuck on somebody else's page, and I was like in the chat, and I was like, let me get up off this chat, let me get off this page because I'm not even one to go back and forth. But it's like it's obvious you guys are not listening to what she's reading,
Right.
So I just started searching. I was like, Lord help me, because I want to see this trial. And I stumbled across Adams. I don't even know how it popped up, but it just popped up. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. I was so happy after that. So I thank you. I thank you for doing it, and for doing it the way that you are doing it, because it's open. You know what I'm saying? It's open. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Like, let's just read these transcripts, see what happens, and let's see if it changes our mind or if we just feel even more strongly about our own opinion the way that we felt before.
And you just said something very key. You said, let's see if there's anything in here that will make you want to change your mind.
Right. Anything discriminatory.
And yeah. And I think that for the most part, we were able to read them and give an honest opinion when we
and read
felt
them
like
in full.
in full. Right.
And
Well,
full, because I
So Amos,
because I
about that, like we didn't touch on this, and I know it's getting late,
Go ahead.
but we didn't really touch on Bon Jean, like her what she was saying about his experiences. And I know King Johan said he would have like capitalized on like his traumatic childhood, but like tonight, for most of us, we heard things that we never heard before.
That stuff was disturbing.
a lot of it
was very
is
disturbing.
it's all of it is disturbing, but a lot of the stuff that was said as far as like, okay, like I say, I'm born and raised in Chicago, so about the rumors about his grandfather was his pop, we heard that. We heard that. The stuff about his sister, we heard all that. Her sister, what his sister was doing, all this. Look, you feel me? So it's like again. That's why I say it was one of them unwritten. It's like, okay, we know, but it's like a folk tale.
Yeah, I
You know
had
what
a
I
lot
mean?
more sympathy for him and his siblings tonight.
Yeah, it's like, because, and then it's like, if they would have really and this is the reason why I feel like his defense, even still knowing all this. Okay, and I'm not saying y'all okay, and I'm only speaking from as far as just defense.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't use the right, and I don't want to say tactics, because tactics sound like,
strategy.
mischievous.
But that's what they would have had to do. That's what they would have had to do.
So if they would have used the right tactics and the information that's presented, and they know, they could have, he wouldn't have not, my man's was gonna be guilty, but he was not going out the door, but he wouldn't have got 30 years.
I would have came like this. Court, jury, this man is sick.
Sick as hell.
He's sick as hell. And look at his the man got fucked by his neighbor. His sister raped him. He went through all this. He was poor on the streets. He was this, and all of a sudden he gets a whole bunch of money.
Get some money. That's all he know. That's all he know. And seeing the thing about it is, and I want them, one of the key things I would have said as his defense, Yana, jury, everybody watching in attendance and wherever the hell they is, just because you make it to somewhere in a point of life that you feel that you want to be, don't mean that changes you. Money does not change who you are. All it does is enhances it. So by him, you having this gift that was given by God.
Right.
Now, now listen, you can't take that from him. He is one of the greatest singers ever.
The nigga's the GOAT. He's the GOAT on R&B. You listen, man. I ain't stopped listening to him. There's some songs I can't listen to, but hey, you know when you know.
He the GOAT, bro. He the GOAT.
He the GOAT. He the GOAT. But that does not still dispute and exalt him from behaviors. Now again, if his defense would have used that angle, I guarantee. And Charles Barkley say that. I guarantee he would have not got 30 years.
But they absolutely did bring that up. They absolutely touched on that. Like they didn't fail to bring that up.
Yeah.
I think Bon Jean and them, they were too focused on attacking the girls instead of putting the focus on what he went through.
I think
that's what King Johan is trying to say. Okay, never mind. We know it's on tape. We know what he did to you. However, this is why he did it.
I would have hammered down. I would have hammered down on. Now, y'all want to know why he recorded stuff? Did you forget that when he was 8, he was forced to record his cousin having sex?
Thank you. Thank you.
I would have hammered down on that.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's my admits that brother. That's my point. And everybody else done said. That's my whole point. And not saying we want him to, get away with what he got going. It's the legal system. It's the judicial system. I don't like it, but hey, we use it. Now, if they would have used that defense.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest about this now. With everything, if this is a whole big old pot of jumbo, we talk about what caused it, where it came from, what he grew up with, and what he did as an adult who already had a deficiency. listen, the way that guy got sentenced, what was his name? Somebody else got 30 some years. Let me see, what's his name? Tim Norman. And he
Tim Norman.
and he got
Yep.
and he killed. So guess
Tim
somebody
Norman got
killed.
life.
He got life. But like I don't know. I don't know.
R. Kelly technically got natural life.
Yeah. And I don't
That's
think
natural life. And I still don't, even by him being guilty on all accords.
Yeah.
And Admits, we had conversations online and offline about this. I still feel like if he would have if somebody did, how people feel and about, especially in the urban community, and when I say urban, I'm talking about us, everybody on this line, they don't particular point direction on helping as far as what's going on in the community, because this something I say, not just and I said this before, they didn't just fail the girls and the women, they failed him.
They did.
Yep.
They failed him.
We failed
And
him.
if we
helped create
failed
the
him.
monster.
We failed him. So if we could have helped him, that would have saved every victim. And again, this is 30 years. A lot of this shit ain't go. A lot of the people that done been encountered with this man ain't go speak up for whatever reason, because it
And
may have
then
been
you
in
got to think
falling the
about the
rights and
enterprise.
line.
You got to think
Exactly.
about
Yeah.
the early enterprise.
Which one are
I
you
feel like
referring to?
I'm
I
talking
don't
about like Demetrius.
Mm-hmm. All
like
the
the
ones
early.
with Demetrius and what was the dude that was the people that were Chicago police officers?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that's
them.
that's what money do. When you can pay off, it goes back to the prohibition days. Oh, I'm running numbers. We can't sell liquor, but I got some police, I got some coppers on the team, and they gonna look the other way. You know what I mean? Again, it's like, hey, what it is, ain't nobody holding nobody accountable. At the end of the day, they seeing the society has been made to think about just money, profit, and gain. So they might turn the other head and turn a blind eye to something that's going on, because why, they need to feed their family. So they willing to look the other way. So it's been made to be like that to a degree, to where people just look down on, like, because the economy is so bad. And that's just all, I'm talking about all, not just today. I'm talking about yesterday, a year ago, 2 years ago, 10, 20 years ago. It's always been like that, to where the money is the root. Money is the subsequent
Right.
answer to
I get that.
everything.
I
Yeah, I
definitely
think
get
it's what
that.
gave
But
him
I feel
access to
like
everything. Sorry.
he didn't have one person around him that couldn't be
To tell,
corrupted.
Other than Don Russell.
But you gotta make sure that it's somebody that he's not paying.
Thank
You
you.
know what I'm saying? Because they're paying to shut up. They're paying to listen to him. It's like if you tell him
Right.
you're trying to tell, they work for him. They're not his friends. So that's it.
Yeah.
Their employer. So they just
Right.
can't go to the employer expressing the way that they feel, because they're not his. They
They
turned
ain't
out
have
to
to
be
go to
his
him.
friends.
They could have
They
went to the
turned out to be his friends.
authorities.
But what I'm saying is, when you work for somebody, all these celebrities, they got yes men. They ain't nobody about to stand up to them and
No,
say
because they got to
and
get
tell them
paid
to stop
too.
that. Right. So the
Hey
only
y'all.
people that I feel like a celebrity that will step to a celebrity is gonna be the person that was their best friend before they even became a celebrity. You know what I'm
Hey
Right.
saying?
And
y'all.
then
If
they
they
Hey
want to
y'all.
keep it real,
Real
and if they're
quick.
not
Brother Amos.
Real quick. Everybody give your last statements, each person, and we're gonna head on out of here. Go ahead, Riri, you can start it.
all right. Well, I feel like when they said the New York trial, the New York trial, when they had all those tapes and we were reading the transcript, and they had went to his storage unit, and they had got all the tapes and all the other evidence that coincide with the witnesses' statements. I felt like R. Kelly is in his 50s. We're the same age. Well, he's a little bit younger than me, but at this point in his life, you're gonna reap what you sow. The Lord had already been telling him a long time ago, giving him warnings. It's always warning before destruction. He had that case a long time ago, 30 years ago, to stop, to turn around, and he didn't. He kept on and he kept going. So this is him reaping what he's sowing, what he sowed. It's gonna happen before he died. He was gonna have to reap what he sowed, because God's word's not gonna come back void.
That's true. That's true. Riri, I appreciate you, my sister. And we're gonna do more things on this channel. I will let y'all know what's the next thing we're gonna try to tackle. But this has been amazing. I appreciate you, Riri. K-Love92, you can give your last words.
I'm just going to say what I told my sister. I was in Divas Live when the verdict came down. Well, not the verdict, but the sentence. And I was really, really upset at first. But, after sitting on it for a few hours and thinking about it, I told my sister, regardless of what he got sentenced, at the end of the day, he's going to have to answer to God for his crimes. It doesn't matter what that judge gave him, what he has coming up in Minnesota or anything else. He has the answer to a higher power at the end of the day. And like I think it was Pauline said, no, it was Nia. I hope that every day that he's in there, he's repenting for his crimes.
I agree with you. Thank you so much, K-Love92. Marianne, your turn.
I think that my takeaway from all of this is just that what we already know, which is hurt people, and then hurt people who have a lot of money and resources, and yes, people hurt people even more and hurt themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. King Johan, last words.
I just feel like it's sad, man. All the way around. And I've said this countless amounts of times. We fail with ourselves. We fail with listening to. You think about so many signs of, and it goes across the board of different incidents. You got people. You take school shootings. You take all this other stuff. People that did stuff at work, stuff like this. There's always signs. It's always signs, and it's always people crying out for help. It's like just whether or not you have to take whether or not are we listening, and even in if we not listening, are we perpetuating for them to go further into their cycle of what's going on and just helping them go along with it? So it's like we gotta really it's like, okay, we can't take nothing just for granted. We can't take nothing that's just they'll be all right. I look at kids from 3 years old and up, like, yeah, I don't like you. You got that type of a person is a person who is who they are from coming up. They can change, but you can see things in people and traits in people early, and people choose to ignore it. We got to stop being blind to it and seeing people back how it was in the day, and seeing people who they are, who they can be, and try to intervene when there's still time. Because you can get to a certain point to where it's like, okay, a person, everybody has this is a different situation. They all kind of go with each other, but everybody gets to a point to where it's like, okay, enough is enough, or I'm just gonna keep going, or you know what I mean. A kingpin feel like, hey, I done been getting away with it from this long. I thought about getting out. Fuck it. I'm gonna take over the world. I'm gonna keep going. And there's so many different cases of that to where you see their story after. And you're like, damn, that was the point you could have stopped. That was the point you should have stopped. If somebody would have helped you at that point, none of these other points would have even came back. So, it's just it's a sad case. Chicken's coming home to roost right now. And I said this in the chat, and people just got to really wake up and see what's in front of them while it's in front of them, instead of waiting for it to get back behind them and want to say something about it. Say something. If you see something, say something. And that's a snitch line. But if you see something, say something. If you know it ain't right, hey, intervene. If you get fired, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to speak, speak up truth, and you got to, you got to carry that. You got to carry your cross just like he did.
And that
And
no
you get,
snitching culture is killing us.
that's what it is. And that's what it is. You have to carry your cross, because by you not saying nothing, you're condemning somebody else, and you're allowing somebody else to go through something else. Now you don't know that blood is on your hands, and that's what people they fail to realize. All this is biblical. All of it is biblical. You see something, you say something, and you can stop somebody else, because that person that's then got harmed, because some hurt people, and that person that been hurt can hurt somebody else, and that person could be the one that can destroy where you at, your whole your well-being. So you know what I mean? Hey, look, I'm getting to the age right now. I'm almost 40. I'm telling. I'm telling. I'm not in it. I'm telling. That's not a snitch. That's not a rat. That's called being a law. That's called being somebody that care about their environment and what's coming up. Hey, no, nigga, I'm telling. Don't do nothing around me. I'm telling.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna jump in here, Coach Johan. Listen, all y'all points were amazing. So this journey has been crazy on this YouTube thing. It's been a roller coaster, because all of us, before we started really talking and focusing on exactly what his actions were and the allegations against him and what was proven that he had done through a preponderance of evidence, all of us were fans of R. Kelly, his music, or we had a likeness to him. And that's what brought all of us here together, because we were able to say, hey, at one time or another, I appreciated the craft, and we was all fans of yours. But what you've done is you have disdained and brought a horrible look to something that is morally wrong in our eyes. And so the biggest difference in us and the R. Kelly people is our disdain for his moral compass. And when I first got into this thing, I came in as a person who is an R. Kelly music fan. Didn't really know him to say I was a fan of him. I was just a fan of his music. But as I started listening and learning more, then I started being like, damn, that's messed up. That's crazy. But the thing that kind of even makes someone who's against R. Kelly's what he did, makes you kind of look at it more harsher towards him, is his fans.
Yep.
These fans will make you, they make you want to talk about how can you support a man who pisses on kids and who rapes kids and all the stuff that came out in these trials. And all this stuff was proven. So it's kind of bad. Like, I believe, honestly, if his fans, his diehard crazy fans, would have just chilled out, not been doxing and not been, ridiculing people because they stand against grown men that sleep with children, and just let it be and kept it silent, I don't think that the temperature would have been as high as it was on YouTube. And it was some people that said, why could this thing needed to stay quiet? But it was way too loud. It was way too loud. Honestly, a part of me feels sorry for R. Kelly, what he went through as a child. No child should have went through what he went through. He went through hell
100%.
as a child. And I don't care how much you hate R. Kelly. You have to be honest and say, I would not want to go through what he went through as a child. None of us would want to go through that. None of us would want a family member to go through that. Now, as he got older, none of us knows the combination of his mental status, his spiritual status, what he learned, what he was stuck with, and what frame of mind his man is stuck in. There's something, as his brother said, he's stuck in this teenager type mind frame where he's attracted to teenagers and young girls. And as sick as it is, it's like he hasn't grown out of it to be able to look at it and be like, man, what the hell? What was I thinking about some young girls? He doesn't have that. That's not there, even to this day. And so as sick as it is, we can't act like he wasn't a victim himself. Like you say, hurt people. And so I believe that his sentence, in my opinion, I think 10 years would have been sufficient with help. That's just my opinion. I feel like the sentence was way too harsh personally, but it was what it was, and he got what he got. I'm glad they didn't sentence him to no, crazy where he got out at 107 or something like that. And hopefully he can be rebuilt and God can show him his ways, and he'll change his life. He'll change the inside of his mind, the way he thinks, and he can let those young women know that he is sorry and that he does show remorse one day. I hope that happens. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. The case is over. He's going to do his time. For the people that don't understand, we have some very smart people come on here and let y'all know he is not. The judge told you straight up, the man will not get out of jail. He will not see the light of day until he is in his 80s. Period.
Yep.
So that's just my opinion. That's my synopsis of it. I have enjoyed covering this case. It has been some stressful times. It's been some happy times. It's been some miserable times. But at the end of the day, justice was served in this case. And no matter what our opinions are, he had a judge, he had a jury, he had two fair trials overall. There were some things that happened in the New York trial that I felt was, that had people who were involved that shouldn't have been involved. I think that kind of, put a bad taste in my mouth when it came to that one. But at the end of the day, that's what appeals are for. We'll see what happens. But listen, y'all were amazing, man. I appreciate y'all.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We appreciate you too.
No
And they've
problem.
been holding it down in the chat.
You.
Yes.
What y'all say?
They've been holding it down in the chat.
Yeah, they've been holding it down. I appreciate y'all. The chat has been amazing, all of y'all. And I like people that have opposing views. So Cookie, Bako, Bala, thank you for coming over here and expressing your views. I've never been one who's frowned on people that say free R. Kelly. I've never frowned on them people, right? You're allowed to express that way you feel. I just always said be respectful, right? But y'all, I'm getting out of here. I love y'all. I will post other things, and we'll probably get back together and do like a little reunion and just sit here and just talk for a while and just talk about what's going on, PO time and all that kind of stuff. Be the light. How you doing? Well, listen, y'all have a blessed night. I'm about to roll out of here.
Bye,
Good
Admin.
night,
Good night.
everybody.
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
y'all.
Oh, don't
Good night.
forget to edit the video before you post it.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I will. I'm gonna edit it right now.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
All right, y'all. See
Good
y'all later.
night.
Peace out.
1, 2. Welcome to the show.
Haters, all good. Thought I couldn't when I could.